What's going on, fellow A-plussers? It is I, your host, as always, Adam Perez, certainly coming through once again with a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news, streaming live over on our YouTube page, as well as over on Facebook today, and even over on Twitch, if you guys are decided to go ahead and check us out over there as well. So thank you very much for certainly joining us here today to enjoy another episode here this fine Sunday afternoon, wherever you guys certainly are at. It's been a great weekend so far, guys. I certainly hope everybody's having a fantastic one here today. But it's not just myself. And while we necessarily don't have the entire cast here, we at least do have Stuart Branscombe. What's going on, Stewie? Good to see you, man.
Hey, good to be back. How are you?
I'm excellent, man. I'm excellent. Me and the girlfriend actually have a couples massage later on this
Oh, nice.
so really looking forward to it. Yeah, it was Valentine's Day present that I gave to her, but unfortunately I had to wait till this Sunday for us to actually schedule an appointment. But I'm ready to go ahead and get me a massage. It's been a minute since I've actually had like a professional massage done. Have you ever gone to like one of those before?
Not in a long time. I mean, I've never actually gone to one, but back in high school, back when I was playing football, we had like one of the football players, their mother, she used to give massages all the time to all of us, and oh my god, it was like perfect. It was the perfect thing to get after you had like after we had like a big game and all of us were sore. It was just like a perfect way to kind of like relax afterwards.
Oh, I can imagine, man. I can imagine. It's been probably at least a good 10 years, I feel like, for me since I've had an actual professional massage done. So it should be good, especially with the newborn around the house, stressing a little bit. Sometimes it can be a little bit fussy. We definitely need to take some time for ourselves every now and then. So this is definitely one of those days. So we got this, and then March is right around the corner. And as of right now, me and the girlfriend have tickets for a March 1st showing of the Batman. And then I think we're
Nice.
even going, or is that March 1st or March 2nd? I can't remember. Oh, it's March 1st. And then 2 days later for the actual premiere, March 3rd, I also went ahead and got us tickets to go see it a second time. But we'll see if we get to that one or not. I'm so excited, man. The next couple of weeks should be rather fun. I saw that you just finished watching Peacemaker. You wrapped that up this week. You did a review for Peacemaker season 1 over on our channel. If you guys have been checking out the HBO Max series, I certainly highly recommend it. But for those of you who have not seen the video, Stuart, just a brief thoughts in regards to Peacemaker season 1.
It's become literally my new favorite, comic book show, and that's saying a lot, because I've watched pretty much almost any one of them that come out. But so this is actually topped Doom Patrol, Superman and Lois, and even Watchmen. It's just that good of a show, honestly.
I was gonna ask because I know your love for Doom Patrol. That was gonna be my next question. Did you like it better than Doom Patrol? But you do, huh?
Yeah, it's and that's not me saying that now like Doom Patrol is lesser quality to me. It's still the same quality. It's just that Peacemaker's just right up there. And I think it's just because well, one thing I think really helped with it is that James Gunn wrote every single episode. So
Mhm.
every TV show has this little bit of a flaw where you can kind of tell each episode is always written by someone else because things don't really flow
Hate it.
together as quite as well as they should. Whereas with this one, everything flew together or was like just so perfectly sewn together that it felt like you were watching one really long movie rather than a TV show. And yeah, and I just thought like the entire cast and crew were excellent, and just no one can balance comedy and drama better than James Gunn. I think James Gunn has just the perfect formula for how to do it, and I think most writers and directors need to take a book, like a note from his book if they want to try that, because a lot of times you get what people call like a tonal whiplash when it goes from like comedy
Mm.
to drama, but you never get that with the James Gunn property, despite the fact that he does a great job of mixing both.
Yeah, his emotional transitions are really, really good. I do definitely will agree with you. The drama along with the humor, they interlace so incredibly well in this series. I was a really big fan of it, man. I was really impressed. James Gunn truly impressed me. I feel like just based off of the stuff that he's done with Guardians of the Galaxy, even with this stuff from Suicide Squad, this still feels like a new and unique take for something for James Gunn to certainly do. But I loved what he put together, man. I agree with you. The cast and crew did fantastically well. John Cena, who I personally would never really consider like one of the strongest actors. I think he shined in this particular role. I think James Gunn just knew all the situations to put him in, to really make him shine. And this character in Peacemaker just feels like a John Cena, and he just truly makes it his own. And I had a blast. James Gunn actually just recently today released a 9-minute gag reel in regards to Peacemaker, to go ahead and celebrate the ending of that season. I just had a chance to watch it. Hilarious stuff. Really great video that they wind up sort of putting together. And also, Stuart, they did officially announce a season 2 of Peacemaker is definitely coming. So I'm really excited to hear that news.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna be checking it out for sure. The now that they've released the 9-minute gag reel, I haven't watched it yet, but it's definitely on my list. Something that James Gunn had mentioned in an interview, and I really want to see this as a 30-minute gag reel. Apparently, between Jason Momoa and Ezra Miller's Flash during their cameo at the end. Oh crap! You've seen Peacemaker all the way through, right? I probably should have
I
asked
have.
that
I don't
first.
know if they have. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know if the viewers have though. But yeah.
Too late. I already spoiled it. Apparently, like the lines between the two of them actually went on for like 30 minutes. And obviously they didn't want to like overdo the cameo, so of course they trimmed it down to like 2 lines for each of them. So I want to see what like a lot of their improvised lines were though before they ended up just cutting it down to those 2 seconds. So I hope we get like a gag reel of that at some point.
That would be pretty funny. It definitely surprised me. I can tell you that much. I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "Are they're in this show?" It really blew my mind. The incredible leeway that Warner Brothers is truly giving James Gunn. Like, it's pretty ridiculous. Like, I don't know if any other project they probably would have tried to kind of pull that off, right? Like Doom Patrol's not doing shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, all these
Mhm.
other HBO Max shows certainly aren't. So I think it just goes to show you how much the Warner Brothers truly values James Gunn, and really the idea that they'll let this man pretty much do anything that they want. Let's see here. Before we move on, though, some quick shout outs to people that have joined us today. We got Datilla in the house. We got Jordan certainly coming through. Also, good to see you in here, man. Adam Perea, he's loving your hair, man. He says Stuart's hair is so beautiful, right? The golden locks over there. He says, I still miss the afro. I guess is that for me or for you, Stuart? I don't know.
I would
But
assume
he
for
says
you.
for me, yeah, I would assume for me, but he does think you look like Jesus. So yeah, go walk on some water for us, man. And of course, Marcelino Vasquez is in here. He says, "Do you think they will change the opening sequence for Peacemaker since the cast won't return for some of the cast won't return for season 2? I hope it stays the same, or it's another ridiculous dance choreography, or if not, if it does just simply stay the same, just replace the people in there."
Actually,
But I really hope that they at least keep something similar to the opening they did in this season.
yeah, James Gunn did say that they are going to have to change it because a lot of the characters that you see in the opening are now dead.
This is quite true. This is quite true. But let's see here. Before we get into your guys' main topics, you guys know how we certainly do around here. We usually like to kick off our show with some honorable mentions for you guys. Also, before honorable mentions, though, if you guys do have any live viewer questions, you can go ahead and submit them over at any time to aplusopinions@gmail.com. Again, submit any live viewer questions to aplusopinions@gmail.com, and we'll definitely go ahead and get to them towards the end of the episode. And you can send them out the entirety of the week. If you watch a television show, if you watch a movie you want to talk about, if you read an article of news, if you see a theory or speculation you want to further discuss, go ahead and submit it our way. But Stuart, let's go ahead and get into some honorable mentions today, man. I don't know if you have anything on your docket to talk about today, but what are you thinking about today, man?
So this one's kind of Peacemaker related, but it's also just kind of like for the grand scheme of DC and Marvel, I think this is actually a really cool like thing, and it kind of leads because a lot of people really want that DC Marvel crossover, and I think this is what kind of brings it that much closer to that. But something that was confirmed by James Gunn is that the scenes with Ezra Miller's Flash. Guess where they filmed those?
Pinewood Studios in Atlanta, Georgia.
Actually,
No.
shit. I don't actually. Maybe I don't know. Wherever they filmed the, I
I
should have
was like,
just like. I just realized I screwed up the question because I don't know the specific location. But anyways, they filmed it on the set of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 because apparently they had already wrapped Peacemaker and they had already wrapped the Flash movie, so they couldn't like film his scene like on the set of the Flash. So the easiest way to do it was to do it on the set of Guardians 3, and Kevin Feige was totally fine with that.
That's so cool, man. That's pretty cool. I
Yeah,
didn't know that. When did he
yeah.
mention that? He mentioned that on
Oh,
Twitter or what? Like, was he doing like a podcast?
it was during a interview, I believe, with Variety, but I could be wrong. It was one of his interviews I was giving like right after the show ending, and then people had, of course, like a bunch of questions. I think the question was whether or not they were actually on the set of Peacemaker, and he was like, "Oh no, when filming Peacemaker, they Ezra Miller was filming The Flash, and then Jason Momoa, of course, was filming the Aquaman sequel, so like neither of them were available. So Jason Momoa's part was filmed on the set of Aquaman, whereas Ezra Miller's part was filmed on the
Mm,
set of Guardians 3. But
that's
yeah,
pretty cool.
it's just what I find so cool about it is just the fact that Disney was, or specifically, I guess not Disney, but Kevin Feige was so cool with like letting him do that without like asking for anything in return, which is something that like to me means it's like it becomes more and more of a possibility for us to finally get that DC Marvel crossover that I'm sure a lot of fans really want to see.
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing that crossover. I still feel like it's definitely some years down the line in development, but this is just to me just continues to show like I really feel like there's no animosity between these two companies. Like they really just want to see each other succeed in any way that they can. Like the success of Warner Brothers movies is the success of Marvel movies, right? And the same can be said for the other way around. All what is it? All what do they what's that term or that phrase, like all ships right? I can't remember what it is, but everybody helps one another in regards to getting better. And so the idea of Kevin Feige just being cool that you're shooting a Warner Brothers scene on their lot for Guardians of the Galaxy, I think is just goes to show you what type of guy Kevin Feige truly is, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
But we'll see, man. We'll see if we ever get that Marvel DC crossover. I think that'd be pretty epic one day. Let's see here. A couple other honorable mentions. We did get ourselves a brand new Sonic 2 poster that's going to be coming out here this April. If you guys are super excited about that, I know that I am. Stuart, I just this past week over on Twitter, somebody put together a grouping of different movie posters that we've gotten. And there seems to be a new trend in Hollywood these days of the gigantic circle in the middle. You put a bunch of characters right there, one gigantic head or another big image behind it, sort of thing. I feel like I've seen this style a bajillion times over the past year in regards to movie posters. I mean, it's cool and all, but I'm really getting kind of tired of the non-creativity that really goes into these movie posters. I mean, I think of like Endgame, I think of like Thor Ragnarok. The Loki one was just like this too. There was a couple other ones that I saw that have this feel. I think even the Uncharted poster they've got is kind of resemblance of this. Uh, Am I going crazy, Stuart?
Oh no, no, you're 100% spot on. A part of me wishes that they would just like I say this as a joke, but I'm like, I kind of wish they would just have Boss Logic do all of their posters now because I feel like all the ones that he does like officially are amazing, and then the ones that I especially love from him are the fan made posters. Or the ones that aren't like necessarily official for the company, but ones that he just does like for fun. Like those ones are always absolutely amazing. But the other thing I kind of wish they would do, and this one I'm actually am being 100% serious on, I do kind of wish they would go back to doing some paintings. I'm not saying every single movie poster should be like a hand painted poster, but it was such a cool thing, in the early, 2000s and any time before that. It's just that, once you had, Photoshop and that kind of stuff, it felt like it had to replace it rather than work together with, the old school way of doing movie posters. It's kind of how I feel about computer graphics and everything when you use that for special effects. I'm glad we have it. I just don't think it needed to replace everything that came before it. And I feel that way with movie posters. Just because we can use Photoshops, that doesn't mean it should replace hand painted posters.
Yeah, I agree. I just feel like the art of creating a movie poster has really just kind of fallen away, unfortunately. I even think of like No Way Home. No Way Home had something similar to that. Instead of a ring,
Mm-hmm.
it was the Doc Ock sort of tentacle arms kind of in a circle with all the characters dead in the middle. I mean, I get the idea of this maybe being the official poster and you want to be able to highlight all the characters that are in it, but I think there's something about the idea of, like you said, an art style type of poster or something that's just a little bit more vague, that's, kind of makes you feel something or really pushes the emotion of the tone of what you want your movie to certainly be. So we'll see if they have any improvements when it comes to movie posters. But yeah, it feels very much just like a copy and paste and put some people's faces in the center, and now you've got yourself a movie poster.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Last thing I'll say about it too. I think the other problem is that Photoshop is really easy to use. So while I personally don't know how to make really good movie posters, I know that there's a lot of amateurs that can make posters just as good as the ones we see in Hollywood. And I think that's another thing that irritates
Mm.
people when they look at them. It's like, oh, someone's getting paid thousands of dollars to make this when I could literally make this in 10 minutes. Not me, not me personally, but you probably could, because you make some really unique thumbnails for the YouTube
Oh, well,
channel.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I try to put my best creative foot forward. So thank you, Stuart. But yeah, if anything, I'm pretty sure I've seen some fan posters that feel like they do a better job of than the actual official posters themselves. Speaking of posters, though, Stuart, we do have some brand new posters in regards to Stranger Things season 4. Guys, get ready because season 4 of Stranger Things is almost here. Netflix wind up releasing a couple of posters. We got this one, which looks like it's at the, I don't know where that's at. Something tells me a high school hallway, but I could be completely wrong, or like some sort of asylum. I have no idea.
I think
Some
it's
sort
the
of
same
lab.
place. I think it's the lab that 11 was from, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, you might be right. This one looks like this is taking place in Russia over here. This
Mhm.
is the other poster they released. They released 4 posters for you guys, in case you were wondering. It looks like we've got a lot of also characters, Stuart, that are going to be pretty prominent in this movie, in this particular series that we've never really met before. Because I'm looking at all these characters, I'm like, I don't remember some of these characters being in, at least the huge number of characters like this being in Stranger Things before. So a lot of big changes are definitely happening here. But that wasn't the only thing that Stranger Things season 4 wind up releasing for us this week, guys. The actual showrunners for the shows actually came out and put together a letter to the fans to kind of give them a heads up in regards to what the plans for the future are going to be when it comes to Stranger Things. So this is from the showrunners. It says it's been a while, with 9 scripts, over 800 pages, almost 2 years of filming, thousands of visual effect shots, and a runtime nearly twice the length of any previous season. Stranger Things 4 was the most challenging season yet, but also the most rewarding one. Everyone involved is incredibly proud of the results, and we can't wait to share it with you. Given the unprecedented length, and to get it to you as soon as possible, season 4 will be released in 2 volumes. Volume 1 will be released May 27th. So mark your calendars there, May 27th. And volume 2 will also release 5 weeks later on July 1st. So May 27th and then July 1st. So that's the good news. It's coming soon and it's bigger than ever. It's also, unfortunately, the beginning of the end, guys. That's right. Stranger Things is officially wrapping up. It says 7 years ago, we planned out the complete story of arc for the complete story arc for Stranger Things. At the time, we predicted the story would last 4 to 5 seasons. It proved too large to tell in 4, but as you'll soon see in your for yourselves, we are now hurtling towards our finale. Season 4 will be the penultimate season. Season 5 will be the last. There's still so many exciting stories to tell within the world of Stranger Things, new mysteries, new adventures, new unexpected heroes. But first, we hope that you stay with us as we finish this tale of a powerful girl named Eleven and her brave friends, of a broken police chief and ferocious mom of a small town called Hawkins, and an alternate dimension known only as the Upside Down. As always, we are grateful for your patience and support. I am kind of curious, Stuart, in that last paragraph, the idea of more exciting stories to tell within the world, new mysteries, new adventures, new unexpected heroes. It definitely feels as though he mentions that they will finish this tale of 11. But it seems as though even though we might have a season 5 of Stranger Things, they may even been building up this world even more for more sort of spin-offs and attention to other characters at some particular point in time. But what do you think about this, Stuart? The idea that we're getting 2 volumes for Stranger Things season 4, and the idea of it finally wrapping.
I Well, first of all, I not that I won't. I'll go into it with an open mind. Don't get me wrong, but I am slightly disappointed to hear that season 4 isn't going to be the last season, just because I'm kind of like wondering how much more story can you really tell with this. But then,
Hmm.
as for the idea of like expanding the world and making a spinoff, it's funny because I almost feel like that was their original intention. Like going back to season 2 when you had the episode where 11 is interacting with all the other characters that also have their own like kind of superpower. I felt like that was meant to be a setup for a spinoff show, but it ended up being like one of the worst episodes of the show. So I feel like that was something the showrunners kind of gave up on. But from the sound of this, it sounds like they're kind of retweaking that idea, and I feel like that is probably going to play a part, if not in this season, then probably in season 5. Like even if it's not a direct spinoff show, I do feel like the other characters that were experimented on in that lab, I feel like we're
Hmm.
going to get more of them going forward in the future.
Definitely a possibility. They certainly teased them in what was it, season 2 or season 3? I believe it was season 2.
Yeah.
All the other ones as well. So we'll see how it goes. For me, listen, I am always a fan of people that do not like showrunners that do not draw out a story longer than it absolutely needs to. I remember when they first started, they did in fact mention the idea that this story was going to take about 4 to 5 seasons to certainly tell. And the fact that they're sticking to their guns, I think is incredible. The fact that Netflix isn't asking them, can we get 7, 8 seasons, please? Like to just water down the season even more. I do love the fact that Netflix is allowing them to stick to their guns and stick to the story that they want to tell. And for me, that gets me thoroughly excited to know that this is the ending that they certainly have in mind. And I'm pumped for it. I was a big fan of Stranger Things. I definitely get the disappointment that it's not finishing off in 4, but as long as they can tell me a compelling story and at least give me one more season to enjoy, I'm definitely here for it. But we'll see how it goes. But guys, let us know your thoughts with Stranger Things. I am kind of curious with the 2 volumes. I wonder if there's going to be like a little bit of a cliffhanger at the very end of the first one to eventually give us like, I wonder if we have to wait 5 weeks, I wonder if there's something that happens in the series that like, will there be a little bit of a 5-week time jump? You know what I'm saying? In the actual series, the way that it's formatted, who knows? But they tend to be rather creative with their storytelling when it comes to Stranger Things. So we'll see what we wind up getting. But yeah, guys, let us know pretty soon.
I'm, I'm predicting it's going to be a cliffhanger that's going to piss a lot of people off and make them go, no, I can't wait 5 weeks. I need to see what happens now.
For 5 weeks, yeah, they better compare it to having to wait. Us Power Ranger fans having to wait what? They'll be okay. I think they'll manage it.
Sorry, I couldn't hear or I couldn't see what you were saying because like your screen kind of froze there for a minute. Still kind of frozen.
Dropping. I think my internet might be dropping on me.
Okay.
Did I lose you, Stuart?
Now you're back. Okay, cool. Yeah,
Now I'm
you're
back.
kind of man. Like every time I say it, it's like your screen freezes again. So I'm just gonna shut up and let you talk.
I am trying to let me see if I can close down some things here. Yeah, let me see. Can I close this too? I'm trying to close some things on my computer real quick. I didn't know it was lagging like that. Is it any better?
You keep kind of coming in and out. Like you're fine for a minute and then you freeze again.
Fucking internet, man. This is what happens when you go live, ladies and gentlemen. He said Adam looked hot frozen. Yeah, not surprised. Not surprised. You, Stewie.
I need to start screen capping these.
Yeah, screen capping them, man.
Yep, I got one, so I'll show it to you after the show.
Out my way, man. It won't even let me drop this. I don't know what's going on, man. Are we back, Stuart?
I want to say yes, but every time I do, I keep jinxing it.
Yeah, I'm looking at my bars and it's telling me my connection is unstable. Let me see if I can. Give me a minute.
You seem back now, though. It seems like it's working now.
It seems like it's working better. Hold on.
Yes, hopefully.
Hold on a second.
Fingers
Hold on a second.
crossed.
Hold on a second. I'm just gonna try and connect my actual. That's what I think that's what I forgot to do. I don't know if it'll help at all. My actual Ethernet cable.
Oh yeah,
Usually
Ethernets
just
make the biggest difference.
yeah, but sometimes I feel like it doesn't for mine though for some reason.
Really?
I think it's just I need to just talk to Spectrum and be like, "Yo, bro, can you bump up my connection a little bit more?" We'll see. I really want to get like a fiber or something, like something from Verizon, or even AT&T, and hopefully pick up the speed a little bit here. Are we good now, Stuart?
Oh, you're excellent now. Quality's a lot
Okay.
better, and there's no more lagging.
Okay, awesome. With that out of the way, then I apologize if we do have any more lagging along the way. It's Spectrum, guys. But anyway, you want to go ahead and get into some main topics, man? Let's go ahead and dive into this because it looks
Definitely.
like we got some Star Wars fans in here too. Jordan said that he's like, I've been in a Star Wars mood for a while and played Battlefront 2 hardcore this week, man. Yeah, I know a couple of people that were playing Battlefront 2 this week also, so I'm hoping you enjoy it. It's been a minute since I played it. I don't think I played Battlefront 2 since it actually dropped. Which was been a couple of years. So maybe I need to get my hands dirty and dust off my Xbox controller or something like that.
Yeah, I remember like everyone being extremely hyped for that game and then being really disappointed by like the game's lack of overall content.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel you there. The last Star Wars game I played was Jedi Fallen Order, and I fucking loved it. I can't wait for. But Stuart, let's go ahead and start diving into our main topics for the day, man.
Yeah.
We got one Star Wars topic, but we'll definitely go ahead and kick that off since that's the main topic for episode. As you guys saw over on our thumbnail, we got good old Daisy fact or not anything that's been confirmed, but we are currently hearing some whispers going on behind the scenes. Certainly be happening, and I'm seeing my internet's going in and out again, Stuart. So I apologize.
That's okay.
Those, but the article that era Star Wars trilogy that we wind up getting, things have been kind of hush hush. It seems as though Lucasfilm recently has been kind of delving in other time periods, if you will. They recently released their High Republic era novels that they're currently trying to up. We do know that they're also having a little bit of fun during the time period of right after Return of the Jedi, and maybe even somewhere in between or before A New Hope, as they've got Andor that's currently coming out relatively soon, along with the Obi-Wan Kenobi series as well. So they're definitely focusing on other times of Star Wars before their sequel trilogy that they just recently wrapped up about a year or so ago. So it is interesting that we are getting whispers in regards to some things in development for post-sequel trilogy. And one of those things, Stuart, is the fact that we possibly could be getting ourselves order that maybe does things a little bit differently than what they certainly did in the past. And I should say, led by none other than one of our newest Jedi, in that of Rey Skywalker. So let's dive into this, Stuart, in regards to this article we wind up having here today. Give me a minute to go ahead and pull this up. This is from comicbookresources.com, cbr.com. There is a rumor that Star Wars has plans for a new post-sequel trilogy, Jedi Order. So this is a new could be looking to establish a new different Jedi Order that would rise in the aftermath of the Star Wars sequel trilogy. On a recent edition of the Ringerverse podcast discussing Disney's live-action Star Wars series, The Book of Boba Fett, former Vanity Fair reporter Joanna Robinson explained that she heard whispers of the Disney-owned Lucasfilm not only being interested in, but actively building towards the idea of a post-sequel trilogy Jedi Order that embraces emotional attachments instead of forbidding them, thus firmly setting itself apart from the old order. As one of the Star Wars Leaks subreddit pointed out, Joanna Robinson doesn't exactly identify as a leaker. Rather, she is respected and credible reporter in the entertainment industry and has tons of sources at Marvel and the rest of Disney. In fact, Robinson is currently writing a book about the behind the scenes history of the MCU. I think I've actually heard about that book coming together. It says Robinson's latest tidbit came when the presenters expressed interest in seeing a new Jedi Order that has learned from the mistakes of the past, at which she pointed out that she revealed that Lucasfilm had that exact same idea. That being said, Robinson also clarified that you can fill an entire stadium with ideas Lucasfilm has been interested in but never realized, meaning the supposed plans might not necessarily come to fruition. And so that's what we have as of right now. Whispers that Lucasfilm could be working on a new Jedi Order. Which, Stuart, when I think of this and when I hear this, this kind of makes me feel like they could potentially be having plans for another trilogy or at least another movie after the after post the sequel trilogy that we wind up getting. I was kind of always under the impression that after that trilogy that we wind up getting with Rey Skywalker kind of standing tall, this kind of felt like a natural progression, if you will. I also go so far as to think back at The Last Jedi that Ryan Johnson did. And if you recall, one of the very last shots that he has is of like the farm boy or the slave boy that was working on the planet, taking care of the animals and stuff. And you see even the young child there having force sensitive abilities, calling the broom to himself, I think, while he's looking at the stars in the galaxy, kind of foreshadowing the idea in the future of, there other being other young force sensitive users out there that maybe at some particular point in time might get their hands on a lightsaber and, join a Jedi Order and possibly maybe be trained by future masters or whatever the case may be. And it definitely feels like that could easily be the trajectory that Lucasfilm certainly goes in. I feel like it would certainly make a lot of sense. One of the things Jedi when we had the Luke Skywalker and Rey moment, I think even Luke Skywalker was able to for that matter as well. There of their rules when it comes to a Star Wars Legends, right? Like the expanded universe. That's kind of the direction that the books found themselves kind of going in also, but with Luke Skywalker building that new sort of Jedi Order. For me, I really would love to see Disney tackle this. Book wise, I personally would love to see them even focus more on Luke's Jedi Order that he established, that we've kind of seen the temple officially being built in the book of Boba Fett, seeing it burnt down in flashbacks when it comes to The Last Jedi. There's plenty of time in between there where if they want to focus on that Jedi Order that Luke wind up having, that would be something I would be really interested in also. But for me, I really want to see Daisy Ridley back, Stuart. I truly do. I don't really see anything on her film docket that she's been really diving into that's kind of exploded into its own franchise or own sets of film. So I don't know if Daisy Ridley's in a position to be like, I don't necessarily want to come back to Star Wars. I think she probably would if given the opportunity. We've heard even from people like John Boyega who said he would certainly come back if the script was certainly right. And who knows if you can even do anything when it comes to Oscar Isaac also. But those are characters I certainly would like to see get their opportunity to shine once again. And what does stand out to me more than anything, Stuart, and that's a big if this does come to fruition, the fact that Lucasfilm is planning, stewards, that they're planning, right? That this means to me that behind the scenes they're writing, they're trying to be on the same page and really trying to flesh out where they certainly want this story to definitely go. And for me, that gives me hope more than anything when it comes to how Disney has definitely been handling Lucasfilm and Star Wars. But again, they did say they have a hundreds and thousands of ideas that sometimes never gets to see the light of day. This certainly could be one of them, but this feels like the natural progression after the sequel trilogy. But let me throw this over to you, Stuart. What do you think about that in regards to this rumor, and your thoughts in regards to a brand new Jedi Order? How would you like to see it?
Uh, I want to see this happen, but my whole thing is when it comes to Star Wars trilogies, I feel like you really need to wait and take your time before doing it. And I don't mean like for planning the story. I mean, obviously that should go without saying, but I mean like every time there's a new Star Wars trilogy, you always got to make sure it's enough time to where like the trilogy that came before can feel somewhat nostalgic. Like the last movie that came out from the prequel trilogy was Episode 3, which was in 2005, and then it wasn't until like 10 years later when we got The Force Awakens. So my whole thing is that I hope they at least wait until like probably 2028 or 2029, before doing this new trilogy, if that's the direction that they want to go in. But if they do eventually decide to do this, then yeah, I'm definitely all for it. I feel like there's a lot. It's a lot more story that you could tell, and you have a lot more flexibility because it's years past, so you don't have to worry too much about like legacy characters and having to like please all the fans with those characters, because enough time has passed to where I don't think we need all those random cameos to please everyone anymore. Yeah, I think it's overall like something that I would definitely be excited to watch. I just hope they don't rush into this. And I hope they don't do this just because it feels like another part of why they're doing this is kind of like as an apology for not giving the fans what they wanted previously. So I hope they don't like do this just as a way of being like, hey, we're sorry you guys didn't like episode 8 and 9, but here's this new trilogy. You like this more? I hope they take their time with it. And I hope it's not just them poking fun at everything fans didn't like about episodes 8 and 9, the same kind of way that episodes 8 and 9 slightly did that with, episode 7 and 8. Like like for example, in episode 8, there were a bunch of jokes that definitely jabbed at episode 7. And then in episode 9, there were a lot of jokes that jabbed at episode 8. I just hope we're kind of done with that aspect of Star Wars. I don't think we need to, wink at the camera anymore when it comes to Star Wars. I hope this new trilogy stands on its own. And again, please take their time with it.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping that they certainly take their time for sure. Also, and you do make a good point. Like, I would not mind there being a significant amount of time and distance from the sequel trilogy into a possible new one. Again, this is just simply a rumor, so take it with the grain of salt. This may not come to fruition, but it is one of the whispers that is certainly going on behind the scenes. But I would agree. And I think the benefit here to the idea of a new trilogy, if that's the route that they decide to go, I think you nailed it on the head in regards to we don't have to worry about legacy characters, right? Like I think Ryan Johnson and J.J. Abrams really had a huge mountain to climb in regards to being able to tell a brand new story while at the same time incorporating legacy characters, not so much from a creative standpoint, but I think just all the emotional connection that so many fans had with these characters that I almost feel like, I don't want to say it was a lose-lose situation for them to be in the first place. I think they definitely could have handled their situation a lot better when it comes to the sequel trilogy. But that is a lot of stress and a lot of pressure sort of off your shoulders to now be able to work in an environment where you can just create, and just push the narrative certainly forward and focus on a lot of these new characters. Like it wouldn't surprise me if there are still sort of some connective tissues to the past, because I think if I recall, I believe Rey Skywalker, I believe she's got the old Jedi books, if I'm not mistaken, from the tree before it wind up burning in The Last Jedi. So I definitely do think there will be some lore and some carryover from the past into this. But as far as like legacy characters, I'm kind of glad that they're no longer around, no offense, because I really do want to see what they can do with just brand new characters. They've been doing a fantastic job when it comes to the High Republic in regards to establishing new characters, new lore, and things like that. But when it comes to adapting it into a live action series and being put on film, that's definitely a different story. So I'm hoping this works. I personally would like to see a new Jedi Order. I think it would be cool to kind of see the Jedi, maybe not at their, I don't want to say it like at their full potential or full strength, but I think it would be pretty cool to see Ray Skywalker putting together a brand new group that actually allows sort of attachments, you know, because again, it does remind me very much of like the EU expanded universe sort of thing, where you had Jedi that might have been married or in relationships, and maybe they wind up having kids, and you know, growing another generation of Jedi outside of that sort of thing. How would you think something like that would work in regards to being on the big screen or a movie focus?
I think it would be great because then you wouldn't have as many Jedi wanting to turn to the dark side. If you want to keep people in your Jedi Order, you know, you got to meet them at least halfway. I'm not saying that, you know, completely abandon every teaching that the Jedi have taught before, but at the very least be a lot more flexible about it. Jedi's in a lot of ways, you know, are kind of a metaphor for different religious groups, and I feel like that's kind of like the main thing with a lot of you know, me growing up with a religious family. I've definitely seen like, you know, very different sides of Christianity. I've seen, you know, people who really take the Bible way too literally, and therefore, you know, you know, it's just really funny because, you know, despite my mom being a pastor, she also knows not to take things too literally from the Bible, and so she knows, like, you know, there are different aspects that you can like. There are different ways you can look at it, and basically the overall message is what you should be looking at, not like the overall like specific details of it. And I think that's what they should go with the Jedi in Star Wars. You know, the idea that, yeah, a lot of the Jedi's teachings are very important. Like, probably I think the big one is maybe trying to be actual messengers of peace instead of war, like they kind of were
Being
in the
soldiers.
Clone Wars. You know,
Mhm.
they were, I think that was like one of the big problems with the Jedi, and they even kind of acknowledged that in story. Like during the Clone Wars, they acknowledged, you know, this isn't what the Jedi Order is supposed to be for. So and I also want to see that being challenged too. I want to see Rey being challenged on what aspects of the old ways to keep and what aspects you know, should be changed. Like, that's something you could really explore throughout a trilogy of movies. You know, what the different teachings that, you know, when is it okay to change something, when it's like convenient, or when it's convenient for you, or when it's actually something that needs to be changed. I feel like these kind of questions are just a perfect way to really challenge a character. So yeah, I do think this overall concept for New Jedi Order taking things in a new direction is perfect for Star Wars.
I do like the comparison to like Christianity and just the idea that there are different levels to it, right? Or at least different mindsets when it comes to just that religion as a vast whole. Like, there are Christians out there that definitely do have different viewpoints in regards to how they read or how they articulate and decipher sort of the Bible, and you know, what they sort of take on for themselves in regards to what their own personal beliefs are. So I do love that comparison in regards to seeing the Jedi Order clearly around the same focus and the same beliefs, but maybe handling it significantly different than what they did in the past. And you're absolutely right. I think that was one of the pushbacks that even like a Qui-Gon Jinn maybe had against the previous Jedi Order, the fact that they were not necessarily the fact that they were so hands on with the Republic, you know, and the idea of being soldiers for them. That's one of the things that I'm seeing also when it comes to the High Republic, even 200 years prior to the prequels, the idea that we've got a Republic who, while definitely works very close with the Jedi, is starting to rely on them a little bit more as soldiers and hunting people down and trying to be on the offensive, if you will. And you really get to see some people within this order maybe not necessarily feeling comfortable with the Jedi Order acquiring that role, right? Like, we even have people in the Republic that are asking for an army, in the sense of like they want to be able to protect themselves and not necessarily have to rely so much on the Jedi. Like, they don't mind working with the Jedi, but they feel like they should be able to take care of themselves and not rely on that. Where you've got some of the Jedi that also think that they shouldn't get this hands on, but are kind of being forced into this kind of position. So you definitely do see like the poeticness of it and the mirror images from the past taking place in the prequels, and the downfall of the hubris and the arrogance of the Jedi, even going so far into the prequels also. So yeah, it would be actually be pretty cool to kind of see a new Jedi Order and how they want to define themselves sort of in the universe now after such a long period of time, right? What do they want their personal beliefs, or how they handle some of the crises, certainly in the universe, sort of thing. So I think it's very ripe for potential storytelling here if they do decide to go ahead and focus on the Jedi Order. So I hope this comes to fruition, man. I really do. One, because I would love to see some of these characters return. Two, I definitely want to see this Jedi Order explored a little bit further. And two, the idea that we don't have these legacy characters anymore, so we really can just focus on storytelling and really building brand new lore here. I think all of that will be super impactful. So we'll see if anything comes out of this. But again, I think what if it does come to fruition, one of the hopes that I have is the fact that it's being planned, and that is definitely a change of pace when it comes to Disney and Lucasfilm. So we'll see, guys. But let me know your thoughts. What do you guys think about the idea of a potential Jedi Order focused Star Wars film after the sequel trilogies? Is that something that you would like to see in regards to Rey rebuilding the Jedi Order? And are there any sort of new rules for the Jedi Order that you would certainly like to see take place going forward? Definitely let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. Real quick, shout out to Michael Rhymes for certainly joining us today. Thank you very much. We got Indy in the house too. Thank you very much, man, for certainly coming through also. Let's see. All right. I think that's everybody for the most part. But all right, Stuart. I think other than that, I think it's time to move on to the next topic. Are you ready, sir?
Always.
Let's do this. We'll stick in the realm of, we'll actually stick in the realm of Star Wars as we continue to have a lot more Star Wars content headed our way, guys. This is going to be a fantastic year when it comes to Star Wars. I believe towards the end of the season, we've got ourselves The Mandalorian season 3. We're also looking forward to Obi-Wan this upcoming May. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Stuart, that Andor is probably dropping sometime this year as well. Ahsoka should be getting in front of the cameras to be filmed if it hasn't started already, possibly I would assume for a 2023 release. So a lot of things are definitely headed our way, and one of those series that we mentioned, Obi-Wan Kenobi, is right around the corner. One of my more anticipated series when it comes to Star Wars. I love me some Ewan McGregor, and honestly, Stuart, the more that I think about it and kind of go through, anytime we talk about Star Wars, or even I read a novel, and I'm feeling like I'm feeling like I might have been a closet prequel trilogy fan, and it's hard to wrap my head around, but I feel like I find myself appreciating the trilogy more and more as the years go by. And maybe some of that has to do with my love for Ewan McGregor. I'm a big fan of Hayden as Anakin Skywalker. I actually really enjoyed Revenge of the Sith. I think that was probably the better of the three films. But even like some of the character posters and posters that I have, Stuart, that when I rummaged through them, I got a bunch of Attack of the Clones posters that I have yet to kind of put up, and I'm thinking to myself, like, damn, did I love this movie? I think if anything, I really appreciated at least the aesthetics, along with just all the brand new characters that we wind up getting when it comes to this the prequel trilogy. But it is definitely something that has grown on me after the years, and so the idea of getting Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan Kenobi has been something I've been wanting to see for quite some time, and we're actually getting it, Stuart. We've been talking about it over the past couple of weeks because they went ahead and revealed to us some, I believe, like an exclusive poster and things like that as well, giving us some details on the release. But Stuart, we also have more news as of today in regards to Obi-Wan Kenobi, and probably one of the more important news drops, and that has to do with the composition, the music when it comes to Obi-Wan Kenobi. And we just got revealed this week that the composer for the Obi-Wan Kenobi theme, Stuart, is none other than John Williams himself, sir. John Williams is returning to Star Wars universe with an Obi-Wan Kenobi theme. And Stuart, I honestly could not be happier. I don't even know how old this man is. Stuart, can you do me a favor and find out exactly how old John Williams is? I think he's got to be in his 90s by now, but this guy is still doing music. Star Wars would certainly not be what it is today without John Williams to be able to just capture our imaginations, give us goosebumps, and give us all sorts of feels and chills just from his music alone in regards to allowing us to go on this Star Wars journey with him. But this is from Variety.com that says more than 2 years after completing his ninth Star Wars movie, composer John Williams is returning to the Jedi fold with the theme for Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Wow.
It says Williams has written the musical signature for the continuing adventures of the character played by Ewan McGregor, airing on Disney Plus beginning May 25th. He recorded last week with the Los Angeles Orchestra under tight security, sources say. Under
90
tight
years old,
security.
by the way.
90.
Yeah.
Damn, 90
I had to
years
like
old.
do the math because it didn't tell me an actual day. It just said 1932. So yeah, 90 years old, I think, right?
God damn, yeah, that's about right. Yeah, 90 years old. It says it is a coup for both Lucasfilm and Disney, considering the five-time Oscar winner rarely composes for television. His last theme for a weekly dramatic series was Amazing Stories back in 1985, which is a great theme. Although he has written two for PBS series, Masterpiece Theater and Great Performances. Um, yeah, man. It says his scores are legendary. He won an Oscar for the original in 1977 and received nominations for 5 of the sequels. That's kind of crazy. I had no idea that he did that. He says he also wrote the theme for Solo, a Star Wars story, in 2018, along with Star Wars' Galaxy's Edge theme park in 2019. But yeah, it does say that he just turned 90, Stuart. You're absolutely right, on February 8th. And he is remarkably busy. That's kind of crazy to me, man. It's hard for me to wrap my head around the idea that 90 years old John Williams is still kicking and still having this active of a role when it comes to Star Wars. Can we just put him in like a cryo freeze chamber? And just awaken him whenever we need new Star Wars music and just keep him around forever. That's what I personally would prefer, Stuart. But what do you think about this when you hear John Williams coming back to do an Obi-Wan theme?
Okay, so I really hope this isn't like another Force Awakens situation. The article does specify that he wrote this theme song for Obi-Wan, so that gives me a lot more hope. But I know that there was like a lot of controversy around the Force Awakens because he wrote or he didn't write the theme, but he composed it, and that was like
Mm,
something that he wasn't like. He was saying he wished he could have that Disney would have let him write the theme for Force Awakens, but they
mm.
didn't. They just let him compose it. So I hope that doesn't end up being the case again with the Obi-Wan series. I hope Disney is smart enough to just let the man do his thing, write his own song for the series, which again, the article makes it seem like that is the case. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it does say Williams. It does say Williams has written the musical signature, but he also says he recorded last week with the Los Angeles Orchestra, so he might have done both.
Mhm. Okay, cool. Then yeah, that gives me a lot of excitement for this, and it is kind of funny because like in the article with it saying he doesn't usually do TV shows, it's like I feel like now though when it comes to specifically the Disney, Star Wars and superhero shows, and then same with even HBO Max with some of their upcoming projects. It's like I feel like the whole idea of a TV show is so much different than what it used to be. So it makes total sense
Hmm.
that if there was any TV show he would compose for, it makes sense that a Star Wars show would be the one that he would do it for, especially one like Obi-Wan, where I'm pretty sure it's safe to say, if you were to watch a clip of it out of context, you would assume it was probably from a movie and not a television series.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. Yeah, I cannot wait for this, man. I'm super
Yeah.
excited. I think I'm really looking forward to this. I mean, even when it comes to the new trilogy stuff, I think for me the Rey's theme continues to be pretty impressive. I'm always a big fan of that, honestly. I'm also one of my other um pieces of his work that I love from even the prequel trilogy, his Anakin and Padme theme, Across the Stars. I'm actually a really big fan of that one too. There are some pretty obscure John Williams themes for Star Wars that I'm actually a relatively big fan of. Even the Kylo Ren one, actually am pretty impressed with also. So I have the utmost belief and faith that when it comes to John Williams, he's going to crush this Obi-Wan theme. I wouldn't be surprised if he does go back to more um go back to more original trilogy sort of tones, and pieces of music that maybe he worked on in there to try and incorporate when it comes to this Obi-Wan series also. So I will be interested to kind of see just the entire musical piece that he winds up putting together for this. But you're right, Stuart. I mean, in the trajectory that we live now with the way that television is, they all these feel like just big movies just broken down into
Yeah.
pieces, so at this point in time, I mean, you look at something like the Mandalorian theme that I think is just Ludwig, was it Ludwig something? I can't remember the composer's name, but he's taken Hollywood by storm too with some of his compositions that he's managed to put together. So this is perfect for Star Wars. Star Wars is John Williams, and John Williams is Star Wars. And when it comes to a legacy character like Obi-Wan, it makes all the sense in the world that he's back for this.
Yeah, and even for people who don't like the prequel trilogies, even now, I think that one thing that no one can deny, even back when it was super popular to hate the prequel trilogies, no one could deny how amazing the soundtrack was from John Williams.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. He definitely and that's one of the things that I love. I'm pretty sure I wind up picking up the Attack of the Clones soundtrack at one particular point in time. See, Stuart, I really do think I was a closet prequel trilogy fan and just didn't want to admit it to myself. Because one of the posters that I have up here, one of the posters that I will be putting up here will be a episode 2 movie teaser poster. And I remember I used to have a background of like all the Jedi and the Geonosis arena kind of thing on my wallpaper from my laptop or computer back in the day. Yeah, man, I can't hide it, Stuart. I think I was secretly a fan. Just
Okay,
didn't want to
so
admit it.
I don't want to go too off topic about this topic, but I do want to kind of bring up there are three factors I think of why the prequels have suddenly gained popularity again. I think like the first one is the most obvious one. Thematically, the prequels all worked really well when you kind of look at the overall story that George Lucas was trying to tell. I just feel like as individual movies, maybe it was just not executed very well, and I think it could have been fixed if George Lucas didn't direct it, but if he just wrote all three of them and then had a different director help him out. So I think thematically that always worked. I think number two is that you have the Clone Wars television series, which gives you whole new context on the relationship with a lot of the characters, and it gives you a lot more appreciation for those characters when you rewatch those movies. Like when I rewatched the Clone Wars and then went into watching Episode 3 was like so much better now. Like I enjoyed it so much more as a movie. And then the third thing I think is that we see what happens when a Star Wars movie tries to just please the fans. We've seen what happens when you make an entire movie that's based, or when you make an entire trilogy that's basically an algorithm. Not saying I don't like the Star Wars sequels trilogies. I do still really like The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. But that said, those movies feel like they were made with an algorithm and not necessarily with the same by like the same people, like heart and soul that went into the prequel trilogies or the Star Wars the Clone Wars series. And I think once the sequel trilogy came out, that was so much more obvious when you look at the prequels that it was made with the heart and not with like an algorithm.
You make some really great points there, Stuart. I 100% agree with all the three pieces that you put out there for sure. And I'll even add a fourth one. I think too the fact that Star Wars today isn't afraid to embrace the prequel trilogy anymore.
Mm.
I mean, we see things like The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett really making a lot of nods and connective tissues to things that certainly sort of came before it too. I mean, I just think of one of the recent episodes when it comes to the Book of Boba Fett when we got the return of a Naboo starfighter, right? Like I'm pretty sure everyone's like, "Oh, I know that ship," Like I think you start seeing the things that you truly do appreciate, and I think what John Favreau and Dave Filoni and all the other writers recently have done is they have managed to kind of bridge that gap, if you will, and show some love and appreciation to the prequels a little bit more. So where now it is very much like a nostalgic sort of thing that we kind of experience when we think of the prequels also. And I think that just also boosts its reputation these days for sure. Time heals
Yeah.
all wounds, they say. And this is a perfect example of that.
I saw a meme that I don't know if it's fully accurate, but I can kind of get where it's coming from. And it basically had a picture of J.J. Abrams and Ryan Johnson, and it said these guys like the original Star Wars trilogy. And then next to it was a picture of Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, and it says these guys like Star Wars.
I mean, I don't think that's
I
fair to
don't I don't think
say,
that's
but
100% true, but I can't blame people for thinking that's the case though. You know, when you look at the sequel trilogy, you could probably count on one hand the amount of references for the prequels for each movie individually.
you are true. That is true in that regards for sure. But guys, listen, we want to know your thoughts in regards to this. John Williams coming back to go ahead and theme Obi-Wan Kenobi. Are you excited to hear exactly what he has in place? Like, I wonder, because I know that there's already an Obi-Wan Kenobi theme. Probably from the original trilogy. Also, I would assume, if anything, he's probably just going to branch off of that, like familiar sounds, but maybe build upon it. Do you think that's something he could be going for?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I really apologize.
Oh no, it's fine. No, I was just gonna say I feel like we already have an Obi-Wan Kenobi theme. Even if you go back to the original
Oh
trilogy,
yeah.
anytime he comes on the scene, you hear his score. I am curious if John Williams is gonna create something completely brand new, or if he's going to take remnants of that and just build upon it.
I think he might have a whole new one because this is basically a whole nother Obi-Wan. This is him trying to adapt to a whole new life, so a whole new theme. And I think the moment he has to embrace his Jedi self, that'll be when we get the old Obi-Wan theme. That knowing
Oh,
John
I kind of
Williams, that seems to be the way he kind of likes to work.
I can kind of see that. I can definitely see that for sure. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below in regards to your enthusiasm for John Williams to come back. And yeah, guys, get that cryo freeze chamber ready for Mr. Williams so we can keep him around forever.
Make sure
All
he's
right,
still
Stuart.
around for the next trilogy.
Yeah, you got to. You got to. Or like, hey, can you just start recording music now, just random music that you think would work perfectly for Star Wars, and we can use it next time around? I think that would work perfectly. All right, Stuart, let's go ahead and get into our next topic today. We've got a couple of DC topics we're going to go ahead and be breaking down for you. And one of them, well, both of them I'm actually really excited to certainly talk about, but we will talk about the topic with the most recent or closest release date here. And that is, in fact, The Batman. Now, Stuart, March 1st, we talked about it at the top. I've got tickets. Do you have tickets for the March 1st early screening, Stuart?
No, I'm just gonna watch it as soon as we get the hard drive copy. Or if we're lucky and we get a film reel copy, then I don't even have to wait till the digital keys are active. I can just plug it in whenever.
Oh, I'm so jealous, man. I'm so jealous. But if you guys have not gotten your tickets for the Batman, please do so. I believe the March 1st IMAX tickets have officially all sold out. I believe the tickets definitely are currently on sale for March 3rd and anytime afterwards for you guys to go ahead and check out the Batman. So please do yourselves a favor. But Stuart, this movie has not even come out yet, and people are already talking about potential sequels, who we would like to see, what villains, what cast members, yada yada yada. This movie hasn't even released yet, and people are very hopeful. One, I already think this is going to be a cinematic masterpiece. I already talked about it before. I feel like this movie is going to be up there with the likes of the Joker, if you will, in regards to how it really sort of shook the industry when it comes to comic book movies. Also, I think this movie is going to do the same exact thing. Keep my fingers crossed that it's going to be $1 billion. But what, we will have to wait and see in regards to that. But Matt Reeves is in the news this week, Stuart, talking about if we were to get a sequel, are there any potential villains that you would possibly like to see? Or, what kind of villains, especially with this world that Matt Reeves is kind of creating, would kind of fit the tones in the atmosphere of what he certainly wants to tackle? And so I thought Matt Reeves had a pretty interesting name drop in here that I want to go ahead and get your opinions and thoughts on, and certainly discuss this with you, Stuart. So let's go ahead and dive into this. What other villains or scenarios could we see for a Batman sequel with Matt Reeves's tone and vibe that he's created so far? Who would fit perfectly into that realm? And according to the Collider.com, it says Matt Reeves is interested in including a grounded Mr. Freeze in a potential sequel. So let's go ahead and read this. And no, Arnold Schwarzenegger is not coming back anytime soon. He's got other things. He's portraying Zeus right now, I think, in like car commercials. I have no idea. But anyway, when it comes to the Batman, it says director Matt Reeves recently spoke at a press conference that Collider was a part of and explained how he was drawn towards a more grounded interpretation of the comics. But that isn't to say the more fantastical villains couldn't get involved, with one particularly cold character seemingly a favorite of his. This is what Matt Reeves said. He says, in my view, I just feel drawn to finding the grounded version of everything. So to me, it would be a challenge in an interesting way to try and figure out how that could happen. Even the idea of something like Mr. Freeze, that's such a great story, right? I think there's actually a grounded version of that story, which could be really powerful and could be really great. So I love the fantastical side of Batman, but this iteration, obviously, while being to me, I think is very comics faithful, but I don't think that this one is necessarily, it doesn't lean as hard into the fantastical, I guess. But I think to me, what would be interesting would be to try and unwind the fantastical and see, well, how could that make sense here? And so that's kind of my view on how I see it. So he's got ideas for a potential, maybe Mr. Freeze, a more grounded iteration of this character to kind of fit what he's created so far when it comes to the world of the Batman. And Stuart, I really like this idea. This kind of goes back to a conversation, Stuart, I think we had a long time ago when the Joker was released, right? We were talking about the idea of being able to take a character like the Joker and make it into as serious of a film or more of a grounded drama-based film. Because I believe those that worked on the Joker were using like inspirations from like the Taxi Driver, I think back in like the 60s or 70s, right? Really trying to ground it in today's world, if you will. And with the success of the Joker, it really pushed that narrative of what other villains could we kind of see in that particular role and in that particular limelight, kind of broken down in that way. And one of the two characters that I heard a tremendous amount of people wanting to see that would be Lex Luthor and Mr. Freeze. There definitely is a story there to definitely be told for Mr. Freeze when it comes to breaking it down to making it more grounded. Like, I still would like to see the fantastical side of Mr. Freeze. And I mean, a man that's sort of trapped inside of this, this suit, if you will. I'm still hoping for like a freeze gun or a freeze ray. But when it comes to just his origin story, I want to see everything grounded, his character and things like that, the lengths that this character would go to in order to go ahead and save the love of his life, if you will. I think Matt Reeves definitely nailed it on the head. And so I feel like if the fans have been asking for like a Lex Luthor or Mr. Freeze interpretation, like we wind up getting in the Joker, not to say that Matt Reeves is listening to the fans, but I think he gets it. I think he's on the same page that we certainly are in thinking that Mr. Freeze would make a very formidable villain, but also one that I think could really be grounded. But this does bring up the question to me also, Stuart, like, are there any other Batman villains that are certainly out there that you think would really fit well when it comes to the world that Matt Reeves has created? So yeah, would you like to see Mr. Freeze as the next potential villain? Do you get what Reeves is certainly talking about here? And are there any other villains that you've thought about that you would like to see in this world?
Okay, so slightly mixed on, and it really, I got to see the Batman before I have like my full opinion on what he means by grounding Mr. Freeze, but slightly mixed for me, only in the sense of, how grounded. Like, I want to make sure, like, when it comes to his backstory, you can make him very human and make it feel like something that could actually take place in the real world. Yes, like all that stuff, I'm all for making grounded, because Mr. Freeze has one of the most compelling backstories, and in fact, you could almost make, yeah, like you were kind of saying, you could almost make an entire solo movie with him. Like, he almost doesn't even need to be a villain in another movie. He could just have his own movie and it would be equally compelling. In fact, you could even have, his whole perspective be like Batman's kind of the villain to him, and you could make a great movie just that. But the part that worries me is the idea that if you go too grounded with it, a lot of the cooler aspects about him you wouldn't be able to use, such as the idea of a suit keeping him alive. Stuff like, that's not stuff that exists in the real world. Same with the freeze gun. We don't have a freeze gun in the real world. Now, you can make a more slightly realistic idea of what a freeze gun would do in the real world. So if he goes with that, then yes, I'm all for it. Just, there's just, when you make something too grounded and you take away every aspect that made that character what he was, that's where I feel like it may go a little bit too far. But again, that's probably not what he has in mind. I still need to watch the Batman to know for sure, like, what kind of idea he really does he might have with a character like Mr. Freeze. But yeah, I do think there is a compelling, very human story that you can tell with him, and I would love to see him as the next villain in the next Batman movie, since he is straight up like, he's probably my favorite Batman villain, honestly.
There's a part of me that still wants to see a Clayface, but I'm like, I don't know if we're going to ever get a Clayface in this iteration. But it is one that a character I would always want to see a live action adaptation to.
Mhm.
I will say this. I think you are right, Stuart, in the sense that I kind of want to see the Batman first. How grounded? What exactly are the tones that we're really going for here? Is there any elements of fantastical in that movie? Right. If there are, then maybe it might be a little bit easier for us to see Mr. Freeze as the sequel villain in here. But I do think from a character, like you mentioned, a human standpoint, there definitely is a story. But I do think that even regardless of how grounded it is, I still think that you probably could add elements of fantastical. I do think that you could get a type of suit, that your containment suit that you're talking about. It might be a little bit gritty and like just kind of put together sort of thing, right? But I think it could still accomplish the same the same goal overall. So it should be interesting. I'm not thinking Joel Schumacher, big, cold puns here and there type of thing. I do think Matt Reeves will I think Matt Reeves will definitely wrap his hands around it, but I do think you can add some elements of fantastical. But I guess we'll have to see the Batman and see exactly how much, if any, of that they really are kind of pushing forward. But I do think villain wise would make a great choice. Datilla does say in regards to villains, she would love to see Two-Face in a sequel. I do think a Harvey Dent addition for a sequel, whether he be Two-Face right now, or at least you just introduce Harvey Dent as a character in a sequel, I think would really go a long way. I think that's a great character that can easily be grounded, which we kind of saw already in Nolan's Batman. I am kind of curious if Reeves is trying to avoid anything that maybe Nolan has kind of done before. Do you think that kind of takes Two-Face off the table, or is that another character you'd like to see again?
I'd like to see him again, and you can definitely tell his story without without borrowing too many elements from Christopher Nolan. Because not that I don't like Two-Face in the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight movie, but the thing is, he was a little bit too different from the comic book counterpart. Which is funny to me, because I think there is an easy way you could do like a lot of times Hollywood, when they talk about multiple personality disorder, it's very different from how it actually works in real life. And I wouldn't mind seeing like a realistic, like real life version of what multiple personality disorder would look like for a real human being. I think that would be something extremely interesting to explore with a character like Two-Face. Oh, I think you muted yourself.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there, Stuart. And also, quick shout out to AJ for certainly joining us. He says Arnold was cringy as F as Mr. Freeze. He's got some
Again,
great one-liners, though.
You gotta watch that movie knowing it's a comedy. I think too many people were going into that movie expecting it to carry that same Tim Burton tone, even though they should have known from Batman Forever it wasn't going to be that. So if you go in and you watch it thinking of it as like, actually, here's a good way to look at it. Look at Batman and Robin as a legacy sequel to the Adam West Batman and Robin. Like, just pretend it's like one of those sequels that are done like years later, and it's perfect.
We also got Marcelino says it would be interesting to see Matt Reeves tackle a grounded Solomon Grundy or even a Man Bat. Do you think those are a little too fantastical, or do you think he can ground something like that?
I feel like, what, if Arrow was able to make a grounded Solomon Grundy, I feel like Matt Reeves can figure that out too. As for Man Bat, I don't think you can make him ground. Like, it depends on how grounded you want to make him. You can make him have a compelling, grounded backstory, but he's still a guy that turns into a bat. So I don't really. You can't make it too grounded. Is the thing with Man Bat. You still have to have that element.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Yeah, there are a couple other villains I personally would like to see. Deadshot would be pretty cool too. I think you could definitely do something with him. We also got. I also wouldn't mind seeing a Poison Ivy at some particular point in time. I don't know. Maybe even I was gonna say Mad Hatter, but I don't necessarily know. Mad Hatter might work. You think so?
I mean, it could. They actually did an interesting job
Ra's
with
al
him
Ghul.
on Batwoman, even though it wasn't like actually the Mad Hatter. I feel like the mannerisms of the character that they use could work in a Batman movie if they go with that direction. Ra's al Ghul. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's no way you could make him grounded without stealing from Christopher Nolan, but I could be
Hmm.
wrong there.
Yeah, no, I feel you there. But definitely a plethora of directions that they certainly could go when it comes to a Batman sequel. But I love the sound of Matt Reeves' decision, or at least choice of if he could, maybe possibly a Mr. Freeze, maybe working into that world. But we'll definitely see what they wind up having in store for us when it actually comes time to.
I
Stuart said
actually didn't
cooler. He
realize I
made a
made a
pun.
pun. That's funny.
I will say this before we move on to the next topic. So we've always talked about the idea that it feels like Matt Reeves and them are really trying to create sort of their own cinematic universe. Is one of the things that we've always mentioned, that when it comes to Batman and the Bat family, like, you really could just create an entire cinematic universe just around them and keep them in certainly their own world. And so far, they've announced a Gotham spinoff series along with a Penguin potential spinoff series as well. And one of the things that I mentioned, Stuart, too, is that, after seeing some of these trailers and how impressive I've been with Zoe Kravitz, I really would love to see her either get her own film or spinoff. Well, you know what's funny, Stuart? This past week, Screen Rant and them have been running a story that apparently the Catwoman spinoff show has at least been discussed over at HBO Max. So it seems as though they could be expanding and providing her with something of their own. It says during a press conference, Matt Reeves said that HBO Max was considering a Catwoman television series. Reeves was asked about the potential spinoff projects and if any were being considered for Catwoman. This is what he said. He says, "I've talked to HBO Max folks. What we're really trying to do is to launch this world. If the world embraces this, we have a lot of ideas for things we want to do. And for sure, we want Selena to continue. We're talking about a lot of things, but it all depends on it. We're about to release this movie, and it comes down to how people perceive it." And so I'm really hoping that they definitely have big plans, but it seems as though maybe they're waiting on announcing their full potential of plans in regards to this universe that they're certainly creating here. So big things are on the way, and I'm hoping that if we get a really great showing by Zoe Kravitz and she really leaves a lasting impression as Catwoman, I personally would love to see more of her as a character, and it seems that could potentially be the plan, guys. So let's keep our fingers crossed that we certainly get that. All right, guys. And if anything, Stuart, let's move on to our next topic. We got another DC topic to go ahead and dive into, and that comes from the world of DC EU movie wise, once again, ladies and gentlemen. And this one kind of came out of left field. I was not expecting this announcement to wind up dropping. We're always waiting to see when it comes to the DCEU after they've been trying to do their best to push past the Zack Snyderverse stuff. They really have been trying to launch a lot of characters in regards to maybe a new look at the DCEU, right? We've got a Batgirl movie that's currently filming, getting ready for us to go ahead and check out. We got Blue Beetle that's certainly on the way as well. I believe there's a Static Shock movie. There's even been talks about maybe Supergirl getting something of her own as well. Well, you know what, Stuart? We got another movie to potentially add to that slate. And I don't necessarily know if it's one that people were certainly expecting, but it seems as though we may be getting that. And Stuart, that is in regards to the Wonder Twins, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Wonder Twin powers activate. As it seems as though we're going to be potentially getting ourselves, Stuart, a Wonder Twins movie in the works with Adam. I'm just gonna call him Adam because I'm not even gonna bother. I'm just gonna butcher his last name. So I apologize about that, sir. But yeah, a Wonder Twins movie looks like it's in development. It says Warner Brothers is activating the power of the Wonder Twins. The Burbank-based studio has hired Adam Sitskill. I had to give it a shot. Shitskill, who worked on the upcoming Black Adam, to write and direct an original live action feature for HBO Max based on the DC characters. It says Marty Bowen and Wick Godfrey of Temple Hill, a prolific banner whose credited range from the Twilight Saga, The Maze Runner, and Fault of Our Stars, will produce the project, which will be titled Wonder Twins. The Wonder Twins are a pair of alien alien siblings named Zan and Jaina. They were imprinted on a generation of television viewers thanks to their introduction on Hanna-Barbera's The All New Super Friends Hour as young companions to adult heroes such as Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. The duo then appear in the Super Friends comic and over time became incorporated into the larger DC. The twins were known for their catchphrase, Wonder Twin powers activate, said before Jaina transformed to any animal, while Zane turned into the many shapes of water. While the characters became the butt of jokes and in modern times memes, DC has also attempted to update and scale up the characters who have also appeared on episodes of Teen Titans Go, Smallville, and The Flash. So plot lines for the project are being kept in the halls of justice, but Adam has established a big studio scribe, has a long history with Warner Brothers as he's worked on comedy movies like Due Date, Project X, Spy Guys, and We're the Millers, along with the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movie Rampage. And he also served as a writer and producer on the animated movie Scoob for you guys also. So, Stuart, this feels weird to me. That we're getting ourselves a Wonder Twins movie. I'm trying to figure out how this is all going to fit into the grand scheme of things. I do give Warner Brothers kudos on going deep into their character book, though, and pulling out the idea of making a Wonder Twins movie here. When I think of the Wonder Twins, I definitely don't take them very seriously. So I think the fact that they've got somebody like Adam, who has kind of done a lot of comedies apparently mixed in there with some action, clearly from like the Rampage and things like that, maybe his type of tone and vibe and his comedy chops actually kind of work relatively well for a group of characters like the Wonder Twins. I can't say my anticipation levels through the roof right now. I'm definitely going to have to see a lot more. But, this does make me laugh because they have been kind of incorporated in more modern time DC stuff than ever before. I mean, they literally, for the DC Universe comic books, have like a whole run of comics for them, as you can see in the thumbnail or from this image here for Wonder Twins from Wonder Comics. I believe there's even been hints or nods to them in the Arrowverse. I believe maybe one of the halls of justice, wherever the current Arrowverse is. I thought there was something there for like the Arrow for the Wonder Twins monkey, if I'm not mistaken. Also, I could be wrong, but I feel like we have gotten some telltale signs that the Wonder Twins do belong in the Arrowverse. So the idea that they're going to be getting themselves a live action movie, a little bit of a head scratcher. But when I look at the person set to write and direct and what he has done in the past, it feels like it could be right up their alley in regards to being able to tackle Wonder Twins. What about you, Stuart, though? I mean, does this make sense to you? Are you scratching your head like I am in regards to how does this particular movie fit into the grander scheme of things? Like, this screams HBO Max movie to me, Stuart, when I think of it. But what are your thoughts?
I gotta be honest, man. I haven't seen a single thing that this guy has written. Even Rampage, which is weird because that's actually a movie that's right up my alley. So I'll definitely have to check that movie out at some point because I hear people really enjoy it. That said, I think the Wonder Twins can make a really fun, compelling movie, and I think getting a comedic writer to work on it is a very smart idea. The reason I was kind of scratching my head earlier, though, is because earlier in the article it like mentioned them being on The Flash, and I'm like, wait, what? So I'm like, was there an episode of The Flash I skipped? And I was like looking through Google trying to find if that was true, and I think it must have been a mistake on the article's point because they never appeared on The Flash. Huh?
Well, like they appeared on. I thought they've been hinted before, at least. I
Oh,
don't
they
necessarily know
were.
if like. Okay.
Like they made like meta jokes about the Wonder Twins, I think, on the Flash, but mostly like in Legends of Tomorrow, the final part of the Crisis crossover, you
Hmm.
had like the theme song playing because you had what's that monkey's name, like Gleek the monkey or something. uh
Yeah, something like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah, so you had kind of that hint there. But yeah, no, I think that was just a misprint on, or like a mistake on the article's part overall. But yeah, no, I do think like with the what you can get away with now when it comes to comic book movies and just overall comic book television is a lot different than what you could have gotten away with like 20 years ago. So I think if there's any time to do a Wonder Twins movie, now is like the perfect time. Now is the time where audiences will accept the weirdest side of comic book movies. So yeah, I'm all for a Wonder Twins movie. I'm all for just trying new things, and this is something that we haven't really seen in live action unless you count Smallville. But even then, we haven't seen it in a live action movie. So I'm all for trying it out. And if it fails, oh well, I'm glad they at least tried.
I will say, if anything, you're absolutely right that fans these days will probably will probably accept a little bit of anything. I think especially perfect example of that is Peacemaker. I mean,
Yes.
Peacemaker was the bottom of the rung sort of character. Yet somebody dug the hand in, picked them out. Oh, I'll handle this character, and all of a sudden we got a hit on our hands, right? You look at something like Doom Patrol. Like I didn't know anything about Doom Patrol before it came on, and just its quirkiness and its weirdness and its really unapologeticness about it to just tackle whatever it certainly wants to. Yeah, I never thought that Doom Patrol would be as successful either. So if you're telling me the Wonder Twins are next up, I mean, while I may be scratching my head, it seems like maybe it's something that could be really mined into something fantastically well for like a HBO Max series or even a movie also. So we'll see. I'll definitely give it a chance when it winds up dropping. But I'm definitely going to need more information before I get my hype level up or even think about this particular movie too much. But guys, a Wonder Twin movie is in the works. You hear who's in charge of it based off of what you see on his IMBD. I'm kind of curious to know if you guys think that this is right up his alley in regards to a group of characters to definitely tackle. Because I do think the comedy route might be the way to certainly go. Because I don't think we take the Wonder Twins seriously, and I think maybe that's probably the point of it. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
it should be interesting.
Like I would
Let's.
want this to embrace the silliness of it without like
Mm,
totally just making fun of how stupid it is. The
I totally
exact
agree.
same way Peacemaker does. Is it embraces the silliness of it being a comic book show. It doesn't like punch down and make fun of the ridiculous aspect of it.
He says if you're trying to make Wonder Twins better, more beloved than to be taken seriously, how's putting them in a Teen Titans Go help out with anything? I mean, they may not be trying to take them too overly seriously. You know what I mean? It could
Hmm.
just be what they're trying to go for when it comes to Wonder Twins. I mean, the idea of making them better definitely bring them to a live action interpretation of themselves. That definitely will always certainly help. But we'll see, guys. But let us know your thoughts. Are you excited for anything Wonder Twins announced? Go ahead and let us your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below, guys. All right, Stuart. We're going to go ahead and wrap up that topic. And we got two more topics for you guys before we dive into your guys' live viewer questions. But we're going to go ahead and make a trajectory turn over to Marvel this time, guys. As Kevin Feige is back in the news as he's been talking a little bit more about the MCU as we continue to certainly push forward. One of the next upcoming Marvel projects that I think all of us are really looking forward to is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. If you guys have not checked out the What If series on Disney Plus, don't sleep on it. Go watch the series now. I think it's only like 6 or 7 episodes. It really will not. You can literally sit down in one day and probably watch this What If series if you want to, but definitely go ahead and check it out before you see Doctor Strange. But Stuart, one of the things that we've been talking about over the past several weeks is really the growth of what Phase 4 has brought to the MCU in regards to not only allowing us to see where some of our Avengers are at and where they're pushing forward to in the future, but also the introduction to a lot of brand new characters that we think are certainly going to be put together in maybe their own potential group when it comes to the Young Avengers, and really how the storytelling and the movies are really going to be released vastly differently than what they have before in the past. And so this kind of wind up getting brought up a little bit here by Kevin Feige this past week, as he really kind of puts a stamp on the idea that maybe we've officially seen our last Avengers movie, Stuart. Let's go ahead and dive into this and try and see if we can break down exactly what it is that Kevin Feige is saying here. This comes to us from comicbook.com, but you could probably find other articles talking about it as well. But this one from comicbook.com says Kevin Feige calls Avengers Endgame the final Avengers movie. And let's see if you guys think he means this literally, or is this him just mixing his words here. He says, here's the full quote from Kevin Feige in the Eternals episode of Marvel Studios Assembled. I guess they went ahead and actually put together over on Disney Plus a behind the scenes focus on the Eternals. But in that, he winds up saying Marvel Studios and the MCU is now past their 10th anniversary. And with the release of the final Avengers movie, we finally completed a 22 movie Infinity Saga, Feige explains. So it says the Marvel Studios already has been pretty glib when it comes to discussing the future of the Avengers franchise. As always, Feige refuses to close any doors or open any windows when it comes to fan theories about what's going to happen in the MCU Phase 4 and beyond. This was a sales pitch he had. He says, where do we go from there? Where do we start? What we really wanted to do was two things: start fresh with whole new characters, new storylines, but also go back to some of the deepest, richest mythology in all of Marvel Comics. He says, back when Marvel was promoting its 2021 movies, Kevin did state that Avengers 5 was not something that the studio was rushing, just sustain the brand name. He says, I think we want to be there to be a reasonable amount of time from the end game to start a new saga, which is already underway and already started, is what Feige told Collider last summer. And then you need time, as you did in Phase 1, to build that saga before you start bringing everyone together. And I think we're kind of definitely seeing that, Stuart, right? Like, people have been talking about Phase 4 in a lot of negative light when it first started, when it came out with Black Widow, and we started getting some of the MCU series like WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Some people calling Phase 4 Phase bore, because maybe it wasn't moving fast enough. But Kevin Feige has always iterated the idea that after Endgame, this is truly supposed to be a brand new start. Even though we are seeing very familiar faces and characters from the past, this is all about now building things out towards the future, very similar to what it was when it came to Phase 1, right? Like, we didn't get an Avengers movie right out of the box. There is building pieces that go along with this. And now that we have a much bigger world to encompass, maybe those building blocks and those pieces coming together might take a little bit longer time to actually get there, but they're working towards a bigger picture. So let me throw this to you first, Stuart. When you hear these words from Kevin Feige that Marvel Studios and the MCU, now that they're past their 10th anniversary, and with the release of the final Avengers movie, we've completed a 22 movie Infinity Saga. Do you think he means that that's truly going to be the last Avengers movie that we get? Or do you think he just means the final Avengers movie in the sense of that Infinity Saga that we had? How are you breaking this down when you hear him talk about this?
Um, the way I'm kind of like looking at it is I feel like the Avengers will continue. Like, we're still going to get Avengers movies in the future, but they're not going to be kind of the big finale, if that makes sense. You know how like a lot of people like kind of compare the Marvel Cinematic Universe to a television show in a way, just because of like how very serialized the stories are. And the Avengers are always kind of like that season finale, essentially. With going forward with Phase 4, I think because every project seems to have seems to be really big in its own way, bringing in characters from other movies into those projects, like Spider-Man, for example, having Doctor Strange and 3 different Spider-Man, and now Doctor Strange's movie seemingly having like this giant cast and crew of different superhero characters. I think what he's kind of getting at is that the Avengers movies aren't going to be that finale anymore. They're not going to have that, like, because now you have all these solo films that are going to be big with the Marvel mythos and everything. I don't think the Avengers are going to feel as big as they used to. So I think that's what he's trying to, like, kind of tell people in this article. I think he's trying to tell them, like, yeah, it's not that the Avengers are dead, but the brand's been used a lot. And we're not going to make Avengers movies just to keep that brand alive. If we're going to make an Avengers movie, there's got to be a purpose to it for our story. And I like that. I like the way he's kind of going about it.
This does make me wonder, because I definitely agree with you, Stuart. I do think that what we're seeing now is a push for more big event films where you do have the Avengers in them or several cast members from the Avengers in them, but we're just not calling it an Avengers movie. It seems as though maybe this next couple of phases will have these big tentpole event films, like in the multiverse of madness. That's definitely going to be one of them. The upcoming potential maybe Secret Wars that maybe they're certainly building towards also, right? That's another potential one. Like, I don't know if it's going to be called Avengers Secret Wars. I think it's just going to be a Secret Wars movie, but some of these characters will certainly still be there. And I agree. I don't think the Avengers are certainly dead, but I do think that you'll see them having impacts in a lot of these stories in different ways than we certainly did before. I do think that the main focus will now be certainly more on like a Young Avengers sort of style of storytelling, as we've been seeing that particular team kind of form together here. So I do think if we do get any sort of element of an Avengers film, it'll probably come into the form of the Young Avengers, where you've got more or less the classic Avengers team kind of playing a more supportive role, if you will, in those particular movies. Now, whether or not we get ourselves an actual Avengers movie like Avengers 5, is that something, Stuart, that you think we might get, say, like 10 years down the line, sort of thing, that they're really not kind of focusing on? Or do you think the Young Avengers is sort of the new sort of big trilogy when it comes to characters that we might get, and everybody else kind of pushed to the foreground
I
or to
think
the
we're gonna
background?
get. I think we're gonna get two Avengers that are going to be obviously connected, but not necessarily related. If that makes sense. I feel like they're going to continue like the Avengers with some of the more main, older, more experienced superheroes as movies that get released in theaters. But given that a lot of the younger Avengers seem to be really building up on Disney Plus, I kind of feel like the Young Avengers movies, like, which I do think we're going to get, I think those are going to be Disney Plus like exclusives, whether it becomes a television show or a full movie. I'm not sure yet, but I feel like they want to kind of it definitely feels like that's the direction that they're going in. And I say that just because like a lot of the origin stories for these younger characters are being told now through the Disney Plus television shows.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. For me, I think when it comes to Disney Plus exclusives, I know that we've been building them up on that on Disney Plus with a lot of their series and introducing them and things like that. I just feel like that's a lot of money left on the table. I feel like any movie these days that are making money are Marvel movies when it comes to like just the box office. So while I understand the idea of debuting them on the MCU, I think Disney would really be missing out on a lot of money of not releasing, say, like a Young Avengers movie in the theaters. I definitely would love to see them in the theaters, especially with some of the big names that we definitely have attached also. So we'll see. But I love what Kevin Feige and Marvel is doing right now. Like, as much as I personally would love to see an official Avengers movie with some of the cast and things like that back, I get the idea of wanting it to take its time. They have spent a lot of years focusing on those characters, and maybe a fresh coat of paint would really go a long way in regards to having these characters come back and play integral roles in, in big epic sort of event films. And then allowing maybe these younger characters to kind of shine in their brand new sort of trilogy. Like, I can see our Avengers, our classic Avengers, finding themselves in a really terrible predicament, and really the only people to save them tend to be the young Avengers, and having them maybe tackle somebody like a Kang the Conqueror in order to try and save our Avengers as we certainly know it. So I can see the Avengers taking place more in epic event films, and then Young Avengers kind of being that key. And who knows if we ever get our? I do think we'll get in another Avengers movie, Stuart. I truly do, but I'm thinking like end of Phase 5. Beginning of Phase 6 or some crazy shit like that, like another 5 or 10 years down the road. But I would be more than happy to be wrong. I would love to be wrong in regards to that, though.
Yeah. As much as I'm pretty sure that's the direction they're going with, I also wouldn't be mad if that's not the direction they went with. If they, like you said, they wanted to build up the Young Avengers movie like in theaters, like we're building them up on the TV side of things, but when they assemble together, that's going into theaters like that. I would also be totally down for as well.
And Marcelino does bring up a good question here, or comment. He says, or instead rebrand the Avengers with the Defenders, so that way you can have more team movies with a different name. And AJ agrees. He thinks that Defenders would be pretty cool to kind of see on the big screen, certainly as a team. I mean, that's always an option that they can go, right? So if they don't necessarily want to focus on the Avengers, we've heard rumors of a Dark Avengers movie, a Thunderbolts, which I think is much more of a possibility for sure. That can definitely happen. So the idea of more team movies, just not necessarily as the Avengers, it would be pretty cool now that the Avengers have sort of established themselves in this MCU. People know who they are. They've got 22 movies. They've had a really big impact in the MCU. It would be pretty cool if we started kind of seeing other groups sort of rise and being sort of inspired from what maybe the Avengers wind up doing. Do you think that's a possibility that we could see other potential teams outside of something, say, than like the Young Avengers?
Yeah, in fact, like I would say, it's a huge possibility that we could get like the Defenders in the future, but not like the Netflix Defenders, more of like the more comic book kind of look at the Defenders. Same with Heroes for Hire. I would love to see Heroes for
Yeah.
Hire, and of course, I think the big one that we're all looking forward to seeing, which will probably still not be for a little bit, but it is definitely going to be coming sometime soon. I look forward to when we finally get the X-Men in the MCU.
Mm.
So I think there's going to be multiple team, franchises kind of going on. And I think that's why, again, going back to like with Kevin Feige, saying not to, that the Avengers 5 isn't around the corner anytime soon. I think that's part of the reason is they want to get you hooked on these other teams coming, the Fantastic Four, X-Men, Defenders, if they want to reboot the Runaways or, just continue the Runaways, them too.
Oh yeah, the Runaways would be cool. I don't know why in my head, Stuart, I had this dream the other day where I was thinking to myself, wouldn't it be pretty cool, or at least in my head, I was thinking it would be pretty cool if everything that we're building up to here when it comes to the MCU, the multiverse, right? All these cameos that we're seeing, what if the end game result for this is like Onslaught from the X-Men, Charles Xavier, if you will, and Legion, if all that kind of came together, and the new universe that we wind up getting is something like the Heroes Reborn stuff with the Fantastic Four and the X-Men sort of Age of Apocalypse concepts. I would love to see them really go like just off the rails with this type of thing and really do something different. Marcelino says he was joking when he says he was replacing the Avengers with the Defenders. I was just making a joke. Hey, even if you're making a joke or not, I kind of dig that a concept and the idea. What like the Defenders, like that would be a great one to have on like an MCU movie. Like if you want to do an exclusive Disney Plus movie, I would eat up a
Mhm.
Defenders MCU Disney Plus movie, Stuart.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I've mentioned this idea before. I would also really like to see, if they want to go back to making kind of like the R-rated side of Marvel, like they were doing with the Marvel Netflix shows. I think like with Disney owning a good portion of Hulu, that would be like the perfect home for those. So you could
Mm.
still expand that darker side of the MCU without having to make it like required viewing and without having to worry about it with like if they have that fear of it tarnishing the family friendly brand, you could have it like under a whole new brand but still keep it like in that universe without having to have direct connections.
I do like the concept, man. I do like the concept. But guys, let us know your thoughts. What do you think about this when Kevin Feige mentions the idea of them having done their final Avengers film when he's referring to the Infinity Saga? Do you think going forward that means no more Avengers films as far as the main title? Or do you think something else? Will we eventually get another Avengers film, say in another 5 years or so? Definitely go ahead and let us know your thoughts and the trajectory that you think the MCU is certainly going with their MCU as of right now. So definitely let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below, guys. And with Stuart, with that, we will go ahead and tackle our very last topic for the day that I'm actually really looking forward to because, Stuart, in today's day and age, when it comes to streaming wars, streaming services are the current big thing, and they will continue to be so for years to come. It feels like it is a completely new way for us to certainly watch television. We've got a bunch of different production studios and companies all vying for brand new content, struggling to go ahead and purchase intellectual properties to go ahead and create, all in an attempt to certainly bolster their content and their subscriber base. One streaming service, though, Stuart, that I think is quietly making noise and continuing to grow, especially after they reported their growth over the past year. Believe it or not, Stuart, is Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus is actually making some things happen for them. In this past week, they went ahead and released a plethora of different types of content that they're going to be establishing. We wind up getting brand new release dates, brand new announcements for upcoming spin-offs and second seasons. A ton of stuff for us to definitely go ahead and dive into. And so we're going to talk a little bit about Paramount Plus for a little bit, along with its growth and along with some of the huge announcements that we wind up getting here this past week. So, Stuart, let's go ahead and dive into this article. I'm not going to read the entirety of the article because some of this is important, though. But this is from the Hollywood Reporter, letting us know that Paramount goes all in on competing with streaming giants in their current rebrand. It seems as though Paramount Plus is rebranding themselves. It says, though Paramount Plus has yet to reach the subscriber numbers of Netflix, Disney Plus, and HBO Max, top executives at Viacom CBS are forging ahead with the company's streaming revolution by relying on more revivals and reboots of nostalgic, fan favorite IP and sequels of popular projects to draw in viewer interest. It says the company's annual Investor Day presentation on Tuesday, which arrived close to the 1 year anniversary since Paramount's launch, opened with a flashy rebrand. Viacom CBS will now be known as Paramount in a nod to the legacy film studio. So it seems as though we have a little bit of a merger here that's going to be taking place. I did say that Paramount has always represented brilliant storytelling for audiences around the globe and on the big screen, the small screen, and every device in between. It is what we are. It is who we are. It is who we are destined to be. It says the executives are still tying that future with streaming, even as Paramount Plus lags behind competitors in subscriber numbers and global reach. The streaming service did reach 32.8 million subscribers at the end of 2021, growing from 16.5 million at the end of quarter 1. So they had a huge increase in regards to a subscriber base. Let me see. I thought there was an actual. Yeah, you can actually see this Paramount Plus global subscribers. So from quarter 1 of 2021, it was at 16.5. At the end, 32.8. So it acquired about, what did it say, 21 million additions in 2021 also. So it continues to certainly grow. And they had some huge announcements that they went ahead and revealed this week. So let's go ahead and talk about some of these announcements, Stuart. I'm going to go ahead and shut this page down. I'm going to go ahead and bring up our Facebook page here a little bit. The first one that they announced in here is that we're going to be getting a new Star Trek film. Stuart, we're getting a new Star Trek film to certainly look forward to. And it looks as though it's going to be with the Chris Pine crew once again. Let me see if I can go ahead and pull up this article. I got to scroll and find this article too. First off, I should have had this stuff ready, honestly, Stuart, but it was already so many open tabs that it was hard to, I already have to worry about a slow ass internet. I didn't need a bunch of open tabs on my computer anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna
Um,
say it's probably smart that you didn't, just to make sure you weren't like lagging as much as you were earlier in the show.
Yeah, I'm trying to make some corrections here. Where's this damn Star Wars article? Here we go. So we got Deadline did report this, that we do have Paramount has a Star Trek film poised for late 2022. Production start date at least. And then it talks to begin with Chris Pine. So it says Paramount has begun talks with Chris Pine to reprise his role as James T. Kirk. And they're also trying to reach out to the other ones as well. It says Deadline revealed last summer that Paramount and producers J.J. Abrams hired Matt Shakman to direct, fresh from the triumph of his series WandaVision. And it was also nominated for 23 Emmys as well. So they are keeping plot lines under wraps, but this firms the flight plan after scripts. So they got a couple scripts in mind also. And so, yeah, we're going to be getting ourselves a new Star Trek. This feels very much like it's going to be a piggyback off of the completed trilogy that we had already for Star Trek Beyond. I think this is probably going to be taking place directly afterwards. So that's one of the announcements that Paramount had. Are you excited for the idea of a new Star Trek movie potentially? Were
I
you
wouldn't
fans of
say.
the other ones?
Yeah, I liked the 2009 Star Trek movie, and honestly, I don't think Into Darkness was as bad as a lot of people say. I do understand the whole. I do kind of agree though with the complaints about Khan, and the only reason that doesn't bother me as much as it does everyone is because I got my head canon saying that that wasn't actually Khan. My head canon is that it was a random person that they unfroze from the thing, and he just decided to take up the name of the leader because that like he was a great villain, but that was not Khan, and that's what bothers me so much about Into Darkness. The third movie, it's funny. I feel like this is where I disagree with a lot of people. I kind of found it overrated. Like a lot of people really enjoyed it. I thought it was
Oh, the
just
Simon
too.
Pegg. Did he direct or write it? I think.
He
Can't
was
remember.
one of the writers on it. I don't think he was the
Okay.
only writer though, but yeah, he did help write the movie.
Yeah, I
I
wasn't
didn't
a fan.
like it as much as everyone else did though. I just thought it was just an extremely generic action movie. You know,
It
so
felt like a Star Trek episode on a bigger budget. It didn't feel
yeah,
like thematic, like very theatrical to me at
yeah.
least.
And I think that a lot of the jabs, it felt too much like they were trying to parody Star Trek more than like
Mm,
embrace Star Trek, if that makes sense.
I
Um,
get you.
Yeah, but that all being said, yes, I will definitely watch a fourth Star Trek movie. I don't know if I'll go into it with a lot of excitement, but I'll definitely watch it for sure.
Yeah, I definitely will too. I do love this cast. I do think they do a really
Mm.
great job of portraying those characters and really making them their own. So I really have enjoyed what J.J. Abrams has established, at least with this new Star Trek universe. And so yeah, I am definitely going to give this Star Trek film an opportunity. So it will begin filming late production in 2022 this year. They are in talks with Chris Pine and also trying to bring back some of the other characters as well. So if you guys are interested in a Star Trek film, definitely let us know your thoughts down below. One of the other announcements that Paramount wind up making this past week, also, Stuart, is the idea that we have not seen the end of the Quiet Place franchise. They have officially announced a third Quiet Place is in fact going to be hitting theaters. It says, despite what seemed like trepidation by the writer and director John Krasinski about a third film, Paramount has officially announced that A Quiet Place 3 is in the works. A sequel to last year's blockbuster will be a different project from next year's spin-off film and is currently scheduled to release in 2025. That's right, 3 years from now. They haven't released any details as of yet, but Krasinski has at least confirmed that yes, there will be another installment for The Quiet Place 3, which makes sense. I mean, I know that despite his reluctancy maybe to do a third one, this this franchise has become a moneymaker for them, Stuart. You know what I mean? So I don't want to say should surprise me, but it doesn't surprise me that we're getting the third. I am kind of curious though as to how much story Krasinski certainly has to tell, or if this is a case of like, hey, can we just milk this for all it's worth and just could just put together something, John, so we can get a third one out there. What do you think? Do you think that there's more story to certainly tell? And are you excited for the idea of a third Quiet Place film? I was a big fan of the first two.
Gotta be honest, I still haven't seen the second one. Only because I thought like the first one was like kind of a perfect like movie on its own right. I didn't think it needed a sequel, but I will eventually check it out. I just didn't have any interest in watching it when it came out in the
So I guess
theaters.
if you, I will say this then, the fact that you thought that the first one was okay and they came out with a second one anyway, and you haven't seen it, and now they want to come out with a third one, are you thinking they're milking this for all it's worth? Like they're really trying to stretch this out?
As someone who's only seen the first one, yes, but maybe if I watch the second movie, my
Second
mind
one?
will be completely changed. Yeah. And in fact, actually, what's cool is I discovered these headphones are freaking amazing when it comes to watching horror movies, especially horror movies
Oh,
that
nice.
rely on sound design. So, I the first Quiet Place movie, these were like the perfect headphones to watch it with. So I will probably be checking out the second one, assuming that it keeps everything that worked really well about the first one. But yeah, as of now, I'm gonna say it feels like they're milking it.
Yeah, we'll definitely see what happens. Again, they also have a spin-off film that they're supposed to be doing too, also. So
Really?
they really are building off of this Quiet Place property that they've acquired. So but yeah, a third one is on the way if you guys have been big fans of the first two.
It sounds like Paramount wants the A Quiet Place to be their Walking Dead.
I mean, it might, it might, Stuart. We'll see what happens there, though. But yeah, big things are definitely headed. Another announcement that Paramount wind up recently having, also, Stuart, is that if you couldn't get enough of Sonic, good on you because there's plenty more coming, guys. Comingsoon.net went ahead and posted this that there's a Knuckles spin-off series that was currently announced for Paramount Plus, along with the idea that a Sonic 3 is in early stages of development. So Sonic 2 hasn't even dropped, but I think the excitement level and the buzz around it is definitely continuing to grow. So I think they probably think the second one is going to be rather successful, and they're already pushing ahead with the Sonic 3 in development. And good old Idris Elba and his sexy Knuckles voice is getting himself a spin-off series, believe it or not. It says the series will once again feature the voice of Idris Elba, who is joining the sequel as the main star. It says the 2023 series will be produced by Sega and Paramount. And then also, additionally, the third Sonic the Hedgehog film will also release in 2023. So that movie is going to be dropping within the next year. They're not slowing down any time soon, Stuart. Do you think this is smart for them to strike while the iron is hot with the buzz that's around it, or what are your thoughts in regards to this?
I think it's smart for them to prepare for the best, but it would be really dumb of them if they already started investing money in all this, because all this hype is just from the trailer. We still don't know if
That's
people are
true.
going to like the movie itself. So if they're planning it, good for them. But if they're already like starting production on this stuff, yeah, that's a really dumb idea, to my opinion.
Um, I am curious if this is like when they say early development, I'm wondering if it's like pre-production. I wonder if it's the
Mhm.
case of like just making sure, like, hey, we got some ideas, so we want to get the sculpts and maybe some of the animation sort of prepped, maybe see some of the concept art start developing some that type of stuff that I can kind of see. But I feel like when it comes to animation, sometimes that stuff really takes a long period of time to actually kind of put together. So maybe they are kind of already getting ahead of the game just a little bit. I was a big fan of the first one. The hype level around the second one definitely has me wanting to go and see this movie. But yeah, it's really going to depend on how it certainly performs. But everybody loves them some Idris Elba, so I think the Knuckles series is probably more than fine. This is going to happen regardless whether or not the movie does well, I feel like. But I'm actually here for it. I never thought that I would be excited to kind of see the growth of a Sonic universe when it comes to live action slash animated, but I'm kind of here for it. But you're right, Stuart. Like my enthusiasm level really will depend on how Sonic 2 winds up hitting. And for me, I feel pretty confident about it, but that's just me though.
Something that would also be kind of cool if they wanted to do this is I wouldn't mind seeing like spin-offs of Sonic that are like fully in that world that Sonic and Knuckles come from. But like don't try to make it too realistic. Go for like a just straight up cartoon animation style, kind of like what they did with the Smurfs, but make it good. Obviously,
Make it
don't
good.
take too much from Smurfs, but take like kind of those some of those elements.
No, I definitely feel you there. But yeah, guys, Knuckles series coming 2023, along with the third Sonic film coming 2023 also. But that's not it, Stuart. We had a bunch of other announcements. They weren't playing around. Paramount wasn't really getting that hype level and trying to get you to subscribe. One of the other announcements is, Stuart, this series hasn't even dropped yet, but apparently Paramount feels so good about what they've seen so far that they've greenlit a second season, and that is, of course, Halo, ladies and gentlemen. Halo is set to go ahead and actually release its first season this month, or I should say March, this upcoming March, for season one. But according to Variety, Paramount Plus over at their Investor Day announced early season 2 renewal for Paramount Plus. It says Halo has been renewed for its second season in advance of the season premiere on March 24th. It does say it's officially joining the series. Oh, never mind. It says the early renewal is a strong vote of confidence for the adaptation of Microsoft's $6 billion blockbuster gaming franchise for the Xbox. Yeah, man, they must have a hell of a lot of confidence in regards to that. It says Halos takes us into a dazzling world that we believe will enthrall audiences as much with its electrifying visuals as its bold, character-driven storytelling, said Showtime and Paramount Plus. It said that this second season pickup reflects the confidence we have in the power of this epic series to attract and engage viewers. They also say Halo is an expansive world-building opportunity for Paramount Plus, and we're thrilled to give fans a second season to look forward to before we launch the series next month. I love the confidence, Stuart. I truly do. It really exudes with me. Everything that I've seen so far, at least in regards to the trailer and some of the shots, look beautiful, awe-inspiring sort of thing. And it definitely feels as though it's certainly taking itself rather seriously. And I think even just hearing some of the words about how they're not just taking the visuals seriously, but they're really pushing the character driven storytelling. It kind of gives me confidence, but we'll definitely see the end result. But I think this has got to mean good things for this series, especially when it comes to Paramount Plus, to feel that confident about it and renew it for season 2. Does that confidence they have give you confidence, Stuart?
Uh, Decent amount. Like I said, I don't think I'm super hyped on the Halo series. I still need to like actually watch it before I have like a real opinion, just because everything I've seen from the trailers, it looks like it can go either way. So, but I mean, I guess yeah, the fact that they have this much confidence shows there has to be something there that they know that fans will enjoy. So, I am definitely intrigued to when I go to check the show out eventually.
So mark your calendars, guys. March 24th. If you've got Paramount Plus, which I believe I do, I will be checking out Halo Season 1. Definitely go ahead and let us know your thoughts about the idea of them renewing for a second season. That gives me confidence. Does it give you guys confidence, though? Definitely let your thoughts be known. And then the last Paramount Plus announcement that they wind up having, Stuart, that I wanted to talk to you guys about is in regards to the world of Transformers. They have officially announced that Transformers Rise of the Beast will officially start a new trilogy for them in regards to Transformers. So more Transformers, guys, headed your way. I don't see Michael Bay's name attached, so maybe we're safe, but we'll see. This comes to us from comicbook.com that says just that. That Rise of the Beasts will start a brand new trilogy. It says the franchise has been a staple of the box office for several decades, as the saga of the Autobots and Decepticons has gone to some outrageous places. The live action film films have been expected to evolve even further with Transformers: The Rise of the Beasts, a film that will be inspired by the iconic Beast Wars storyline. A full year before Rise of the Beast makes its theatrical debut, it's clear there's a lot more storytelling left in store. During the Investors Day presentation Tuesday, it was confirmed that it will start a brand new trilogy. It says Rise of the Beast will be released theatrically 2023, and is the first of 3 new installments. It also clarifies that it says a new animated series for Nickelodeon also arrives this fall. And they also have plans for in 2024, the franchise expands further with a CG animated Transformers theatrical film, Stuart. So they also have another film in 2023 that will be CG animated.
Ooh, you know
So
what?
a
You know
lot
what
of
I bet it is. I bet it's going to finally be an adaptation, a theatrical adaptation of the War on Cybertron.
Ooh, I would absolutely love to see that, to be
Fingers are
perfectly honest
crossed
with
for
you.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. The article also does go on to say we want to give the audiences a lot of new. It says we have exhausted, I would say, the battle between the Autobots and the Decepticons. How do we find a new set of villains and priorities? Saving the world is left to the Autobots, and in this case, the Maximals. Part of the new news, if you've seen the other movies, you're going to see villains you've never seen before and a lot of elements we've never done before. I'm kind of curious if that makes, I think that kind of makes me a little nervous, Stuart. I can't lie, just a little bit. It says, when I met with Lorenzo and the team, I was like, where are we picking things up from? And he was like, 1994. And I was just like, that's a great era. You know what I mean? It's a lot of texture. It's rich in texture and also vibrant culturally. And as he said, it has like classic music, and there's a certain energy to the 90s that I'm looking forward to capturing. Like we've seen it on screen very few times. Sometimes you can play into it too much, but I think there's a level of like realness that I could certainly bring to it. So they're talking about the idea of the idea of picking up the Transformers film in 1994, which I don't mind the time period. I do agree with them in regards to how rich it is, just vibrant when it comes to its tone and aesthetics and things that you can really dive into. But Stuart, I think maybe one of the things that you might be worried about is the idea of them talking like you don't want to play too much into it, right? You don't want that to be the crux of the movie itself, but you really want to go ahead and try and work around that and just kind of include it and infuse it into the story that you're kind of telling. So big things here, Stuart. When you hear this coming from Paramount in regards to Transformers, are you worried? Are you concerned? Do you like the sound of this or what? Because honestly, I'm hesitant. I'm hesitant personally.
Well, I do like that they're trying new things and they're not just. I like that they seem to be done with the Michael Bay franchise. It's like, okay, it's run out of gas, and now people are asking for something new, and we got Bumblebee from that, which worked out really well for them. While it didn't make as much money as some of the Michael Bay movies, it got a lot more praise, and then its home releases also made a lot more than. I believe the home releases were actually a lot more than they expected, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that's what they're kind of going for, like a much different, like a little more variety now with the movies to see what sticks and what doesn't, which I like again because at least they're not just kind of repeating themselves over and over, like again like with the Michael Bay movies.
Yeah, I mean, look, I appreciate freshness. I
Mm-hmm.
do. I do like the idea and the stab of at least trying to do something new. But I guess they still have to kind of prove it to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Michael Bay stuff, while I was a big fan of the first and third one, all the other films I didn't really care for, with the exception of Bumblebee. Had they maybe continued along the trajectory of Bumblebee and kept some of those elements of storytelling around, maybe I would be a little bit more enthusiastic. But I still don't know what to expect out of this new Transformers trilogy that they have in mind. Like, I know that they have mentioned the idea that they really want Rise of the Beast to be a fresh start, if you will, for their franchise. And so it does make me wonder where Bumblebee fit into all of this. Are they just completely ignoring that? Is the Bumblebee movie more attached to the previous Michael Bay stuff that we had? And now that sort of segment of Transformers movies are over, and now we're moving over to something a little bit new. So I would be kind of curious to see how this all plays itself up, especially with it taking place in the 90s. But I am hesitant because I feel like I've seen just as many bad Transformers movies as I have good ones. And it does make me curious as to Paramount's usage of the franchise. And, do they really have a great pulse of what these stories should certainly be? I am fascinated by all the newness that they certainly want to include, like the new villains. That seems pretty inspiring, risky at the same time. But anytime you do something new and unique, it's always going to be a risk involved behind it. But I'll give it a shot. I'm always going to give a Transformers movie a shot for sure. But I do like the direction in which they're going, in the sense of not being afraid to put out new content, because that seems like a pretty hefty slate that they're going to be releasing. 3 new movies, a CGI animated movie within the next year or two. It's a lot, but I'm open to all of it, and we'll see if any of it really sticks and lands with us, and if they've learned any lessons from the Michael Bay stuff and even the Bumblebee. Like, maybe this will be an amalgamation of like just the perfect blend of everything that we need when it comes to a Transformers movie. Did you get the opportunity to check out the Trilogy on Netflix, their Trilogy series?
Oh, I've seen the first part of it. I still haven't watched the second or third season or parts, whatever they're going with.
Yeah, I did see the first season. I watched only maybe half of the second, and I didn't see the third portion of that trilogy. I think there are like 6 episodes per part. So I think the first part is 6 episodes, second is 6, and third part is 6 episodes also. It was kind of hit or miss for me at times. So I think, again, the idea that I've seen the same amount of good as I have bad from the Transformers franchise does make me worried, but I am open to seeing what they create, especially if they even realize maybe we've milked this as much as we can with Autobots and Decepticons. Let's try and switch things up. We'll see what they create, though.
Yeah. Something I might do later on too is I'm looking at the website Tubi, which is like a free streaming service. You don't even
Mhm.
have to sign up. You can literally just like go onto the website and just watch anything for free there. They got all of Beast Wars, which I haven't watched in so long, so I might actually do a rewatch of this series before the movie comes out. And they also have Beast Machines, which I've actually never seen. So
Beast Machines? I don't think I've ever seen that either.
yeah, it was like I think it was meant to be a direct sequel to Beast Wars, but I'm not sure. But never checked it out. So I might use this as an opportunity to finally watch Beast Machines for the first time, and then also refresh my memory on Beast Wars.
Do it. Do it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think with that out of the way, I think that will wrap up all of our main topics for the day, guys. So thank you very much for everybody certainly joining us, especially if you're chilling in the live chat today. And listen, especially if you are chilling in the live chat, if you haven't hit that like button yet and you continue to come back week after week and enjoy our content, hit that like button. It definitely does go a long way. And if you have any other additional comments, feel free to go ahead and put them in the comment section after this particular video streams. But Stuart, I think now is time for live viewer questions. So are you ready to go ahead and tackle these with me?
Always live
And
viewer questions.
and always feel free to certainly go ahead and submit your live viewer questions over at any time during the week if you like. Again, to aplusopinions@gmail.com. And Stuart, our emails blew up since the last time I looked at this email account before we started. I'm like, where the did all these emails come from? Because this was not what it was like at the start. Plus, we also have a little bit from last week to definitely dabble in. Why are people up at 3 o'clock in the morning sending me a bunch of questions, guys? Like, go to sleep. Go to
I
sleep.
mean,
Unless they're like
it
all
could be,
troll accounts. They could all just be troll accounts too.
and it also could be from like different time zones. So like for me,
That's
that would only be
true.
like 1 o'clock.
We did get a question from France
Oh,
the other
wow.
day on A Plus More Phenomenal International Superstars, Stuart. So let's see. Let's go ahead and dive into some of these questions. Jessica Friedman, when do you think the rest of season 4 of Young Justice will drop on HBO Max? That's funny you ask because I think they just announced that, didn't they? Not season 4, but I think maybe the second half of season 3. Or
No, it'd
no,
be
no,
season
the
four.
second
Yeah.
season 4. Yeah, they did announce it. Um, damn it, I don't even remember if I have the date though.
Looking it up now. See if I can find it. Hmm.
Was that Phantoms, right?
Yeah.
See if you can find it because I
I
thought I
found.
saw it somewhere.
Yeah, I see a trailer for it, but I can't find if it has the release date on it yet. There,
While you look that, oh, go ahead. I was gonna say
I
while
would
you look
assume
that
it.
up.
I assume it'll come out like this year, but yeah, I can't find a specific date. But it'll. It looks like it's for sure coming out this year, though. Of course.
Yeah, it'll definitely, yeah, we'll definitely get it. So it'll be here soon, Jessica. Do you think we'll get a Supergirl showing up in Superman and Lois?
Uh, Maybe not Superman and Lois specifically, but I do think Melissa Benoist will eventually come back, at least for like an episode of like whatever their next big crossover event will be. I think we'll see her again.
When do you think we will see Jordan put on a suit and become Superboy?
I should have brought this up for my honorable mentions. I think I think what they're filming
I thought I
episode
saw a
8
picture.
currently.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought
I
I saw a
think
picture.
so. I think episode 8 will be the debut of it because if it happened earlier, I feel like we would have gotten photos from Canada Grass from those episodes. Although maybe not, because he does explain that it's really hard for him to get set photos for Superman and Lois because they usually film it
Mm.
in like a closed set. Whereas
Oh,
like
okay.
that one was the exception because it was one of those few times where they're actually filming it in the city. So you know, I think it'll happen though. I'm still going to go with episode 8 is when we're going to see him as like the kind of Connor Kent looking Superboy.
Is that the Amy Jo Johnson directed episode?
I think she did an episode 6 or 7. I'm
Oh,
not
maybe it was
sure.
6. It might have been
Yeah.
6. Would you like to see Ryan Wilder, aka Batwoman, meet the Flash and Superman one day? I hope it happens.
It definitely will. It'll happen actually this year, just not on screen. We are going to see her though in the Earth Prime comic book mini series, which is like a 6-part run of the Arrowverse. Basically, kind of giving you like different adventures within the Arrowverse continuity, and it is actually written by the people who write the television shows, so it is going to be in canon, and they're going to make sure that there's no continuity errors like there were with the Crisis on Infinite Earths tie-in comic.
Oh, nice. Okay. And then Adam also asks, has Jenna Tuan as Lucy Lane return on Superman and Lois? She definitely has.
Yeah, and there's a weird hint, I think personally, and I could be wrong about this. I think there might be a bigger tie-in to Supergirl with her character than people
Hmm.
realize, but it's hard to say because there's this like weird element to her story that might be supernatural and it might not be. And because Superman and Lois is such a grounded show, I honestly have no idea what direction they're going in. But if they go in the direction I think, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a major tie-in to Supergirl.
I hope so. I hope so because I've heard some people already complaining that they feel like she's a completely different character. Like they're not even acknowledging the fact of who she was on Supergirl.
Yeah, and I think that's done on purpose for this.
Mm.
Yeah, it's
Okay. 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 We'll
going to be
definitely see.
interesting if it goes in the
Um,
direction I think.
Let's see. AJ's got a couple questions. Again, I'm trying to combine questions from the previous week because we canceled last week's show along with this also. So let's see what we can juggle. Which movie death in the MCU was the most impactful? Tony Stark, Black Widow, Aunt May, Agent Coulson, or Quicksilver or Bucky Barnes? You know, I feel like clearly Tony Stark is the one that's up here, but I'm also going to even say an Agent Coulson. I'll even say Agent Coulson's death was pretty impactful. One, I definitely do think. I mean, it definitely riled up the Avengers to go ahead and kick some Loki ass in the first Avengers. But just the idea alone of like Agent Coulson's storyline since then, from all of Agents of Shield and just the how much people have always wanted him to come back in the MCU, right? I mean, we saw him pop up in Captain Marvel, a younger version of himself. But I feel like people would be thrilled at the return of a Phil Coulson, if you ask me, in the MCU. And I think the fact of that alone shows how impactful his death and how meaningful he's been to the MCU in general. So, like, just after Tony Stark, I would say Agent Coulson out of that list. What about you, though?
I'd say Agent Coulson's death was the most important because it was the spark that made the Avengers. I think the Avengers could
And
have beaten Loki.
surprising,
Yeah.
too. I didn't see it
Oh yeah,
coming.
no one did. Yeah, that's one thing. Joss is a terrible person, but I'm going to give him credit. He's great when it comes to those surprise deaths that actually, you really feel for. Yeah, I'm not going to deny the man's talent, even if he's a terrible person. That said, so I think his was the spark, so more important. But man, Tony's death, though, just because of like how they took their time with it and the way it finally happened, I definitely say his had a lot more emotional weight behind it. But I'm also going to say that Phil's was more important.
I get you there. He also says, AJ says, did you notice in all three of Tom Holland's Spider films, his parents were never shown if they had died? And have you ever heard of the theory that the little boy in Iron Man 3 that Tony befriended was perhaps Peter Parker, with Tony Stark being the one who accidentally created the spider that bit Peter, since Tom Holland was already introduced as Peter in Captain America Civil War? Well, I will say this, that can't be. The only reason why I say that is that little boy in Iron Man 3 actually shows up in Avengers Endgame at the funeral. So he can't be Peter Parker because of the fact that we already have a Tom Holland Peter Parker. So that would definitely throw that theory out the window. Am I reading that wrong, Stuart?
No, you're correct. I
Okay.
think the theory he's talking about,
I
though,
didn't even know
was
that was a
Iron Man
theory.
2. Iron Man 2 was when you had the little boy wearing like the Iron Man mask and like trying to stand up to the machine.
Yes.
Yeah, that was
Yes,
the
at
one that
I thought he was
people.
talking
Yeah,
about the one in Iron Man 3, the
I
kid that was helping him out, but I think that's who you're talking about. Yes, Stuart, that's what he meant.
yeah, and I like that theory. As for Tony
At that
making the
like that
spider,
was that science convention or whatever that he was having in New York? I believe it was, right?
yeah, it was something like that. It was during the big climax, if I remember
Mhm.
correctly.
I do remember that.
Um,
That's right. That is a
yeah,
theory.
and I think even Tom Holland liked it enough to say like, yeah, in my head canon, it's real.
I want to say somebody else even came out and confirmed that. I want to say I'm kind of curious if even Feige came out and even confirmed that, like just jumping on board with that. Like, yeah, that's it. We planned that the whole time. That's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
But I want to say somewhere out there somebody has confirmed that that's true, but I could be wrong. But yeah, did you also notice that in all three Spider-Man films, his parents were never shown if they had died? Yeah, I don't feel like the Peter's parents are ever really brought up too much, with the exception of maybe the Amazing Spider-Man films. I think is the most that they've ever really focused on Peter's parents so much. I was usually always Aunt May and Uncle Ben situation.
I think the most likely answer, and it could also be the answer for Uncle Ben, because clearly his death didn't happen the same way it did in the other Spider-Man movies. It's possible he just lost a lot of family in 2012 during the Battle of New York.
What, said it again? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was saying it's possible that Peter just lost a lot of his family, including his parents and Uncle Ben, during the
Possible.
Battle of New York.
We've
I
seen it
do
happen with Kate Bishop.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're going to get a full explanation of that in the upcoming Spider-Man. What's the show called again? The upcoming Spider-Man show.
Friendly. The animated one?
Freshman year. That's right. Yeah.
Freshman year. Yeah.
Yeah, in Spider-Man freshman year, I feel like that'll be when they finally kind of explain his full origin, like
Origin
where the
story.
spider came from. We know that it didn't come from Oscorp, because apparently Oscorp doesn't exist in the MCU, so it might have been Tony. Who knows?
That would be pretty cool if they incorporate all that in the animated film, like even going so far back as Iron Man 2. I think that would be pretty freaking cool. A couple other questions from AJ. What did you guys think of Terminator Dark Fate? Is that the one with Emilia Clarke? Is that the
no, that was
is that the one with Mackenzie, the Mackenzie Davis?
I don't remember any of the actors' names, but it
Yeah,
had
2019
Linda Hamilton coming
film.
back.
Yeah, she came back. Yeah, it had Mackenzie Davis as Grace, who played sort of the new, not the new term. Well, I guess the new protector or of whoever the main character was. I actually enjoyed it. I didn't mind it. It didn't blow me away, but it was definitely a Terminator film that I felt satisfied with after watching it. But what about you?
It was a huge breath of fresh air compared to Terminator Genesis. I didn't love it, but I
Right.
really enjoyed it. And it was the first time watching a Terminator sequel where it actually felt like I was watching a Terminator movie directed by a fan instead of because yeah, with Salvation and Genesis, and even like to an extent with Terminator 3, it really just felt like I was watching a movie that was directed by someone who just read a plot description of the first two movies and then decided to pick up a sequel from there. So Dark Fate was the first one where it really felt like it was written by a fan, and I really liked it for that.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I think I think Dark Fate is the first time James Cameron actually comes back to the franchise, or maybe has a little bit more hands on with it, because he is listed in the story credits for that movie. And I want to say I don't necessarily know if he had a huge part to play in it, but I definitely do think he had his hands involved for sure. So that could be one of the reasons why Terminator Dark Fate feels a little bit different. And if anything, I'm also a closet a closet Terminator Salvation fan. Maybe
Okay.
because I love me some Christian Bale and Sam Worthington, but I really enjoy what they did with that. At least the first half. I feel like it maybe jumped the shark a little bit towards the tail end of the movie, but I kind of appreciated Salvation for what it was, though.
I think what
Um,
happened, I think the problem was that like the original cut of the movie, a lot of people thought was too
mhm,
dark. And so they
I can
had to
see that.
recut the second half. And because of that, I think the writing is what sucked about the second half. But like when it comes to the direction of Salvation, I do think it was an amazingly directed film, especially the
Yeah, it
action,
was.
because the action had me on the edge of my seat all the way through, for
Yeah,
sure.
they had definitely had some pretty intense moments there for Salvation, so I would agree with you there. And then last question from him, he says, "How excited are you for Michael Keaton to return for the Flash movie and Batgirl?" This past week they actually revealed a brand new looks at the suit. I was thinking about maybe bringing up some shots of behind the scenes of seeing Batman and J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon on set together, getting an opportunity to see Michael Keaton in his suit. But I decided I don't know if I want to spoil people too much with that. I almost want that to be something that people see in the movie theaters. But it felt weird, Stuart, seeing it. Like, I'm super happy that he's back, but like just seeing him next to J.K. Simmons, Commissioner Gordon, it's like just weird vibes. Like I just can't believe that we're living in this time period right now where we get to see this type of stuff. It's pretty gnarly, man.
Yeah, I totally agree. I look forward to it, but it is something that can be easily screwed up, and I really hope they don't screw it up. So
Mhm.
I think I'm definitely more excited than worried. But yeah.
Yeah, and for me, I guess my safety net is the idea of knowing I don't think Michael Keaton would return to play this role for just anything. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, I don't think this is a Nicolas Cage situation where he just needs a check, so he'll just play any role that you throw at him, right? Like, if you're trying to bring back a Michael Keaton Batman, I think he's probably going to have some say in regards to, is it an impactful enough reason for me to come back? So that's one of the things that kind of gives me a little bit hope. Um, oh,
I
go ahead.
don't think Nicolas Cage does it for the money. I think he does these bad movies to challenge himself. I'm just gonna say that he
I
seems like the
mean,
kind of guy who does that.
I can see that. I can see that. Gabriel's got a couple questions. This will never happen, but if we were to get a revival film of Macaulay Culkin back as Kevin McAllister, now as a parent, how would you think the movie would go without being easily solved by smartphones and social media? I mean, I don't know. One, I think this is something that can happen. It would not surprise me if Disney has not already talked to this man about the idea of a revival Home Alone. What if you were the parent, Kevin? Like, I just can't imagine Kevin losing his kids. Like, I just think that, it's one of those things where you don't want to repeat what your parents did to you, right? Like, or you want to be better or different from your parents. Like, I just can't see Kevin losing his kids, but maybe that's just me. How would you tackle it? How would you tackle it, Stuart, if anything? Have you
God, I
thought
don't
about
know.
this moment before?
I haven't, but I think the easiest way to do it is okay. So I don't know how parents like raise their kids nowadays when it comes to smartphones, but I can tell you now that if I become a parent, I don't want to give my kid a smartphone at least until middle school ish, maybe if even that. Like honestly, I probably wouldn't even do it until high school unless they could like raise the money themselves to buy it. But yeah. So I guess that's the easiest way to write around it. Just like, Kevin doesn't give his kid a smartphone because he doesn't think he's old enough. As to how he's dumb enough to leave his kid alone the same way his parents did it, I don't know. Just maybe, God, maybe he tries too hard to correct the way his parents were, and in doing so, no, he doesn't leave his kid at home alone. His kid runs away from a vacation going home, something like that, because
Ooh,
maybe
the
Kevin tries
backwards.
too hard to be like a better parent than his
That's the
parents
key.
and then ends up
And he
driving his
doesn't
kid
want to
away.
even go on the damn trip.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's probably the easiest way to write around it.
Genius. I love it. That's how you do a revival series. You flip it on its head and have it the other way around. I love it. I brought you to this vacation. Now you better stay here. Do you hear me? I
Yeah.
love it. What pop culture franchise do you think is very underrated and or overrated? A pop culture franchise that's underrated and or overrated.
For the underrated or for the overrated part, I'm going to currently say the Jurassic World. I mean, I know it's only 2 movies so far,
You said it's
but
overrated?
yeah.
The Jurassic World? Okay.
Yeah, for Jurassic World 1 and 2. Underrated though for pop culture franchises. I always hate these
Hmm.
questions because I always have a good answer right after we end the show. Hmm,
That's a good one, man. Maybe I'll have to come back to that one. We'll come back to that
same.
one. We'll come back to that one. How do you know when movie trailers indicate that a movie will be very good? Like the upcoming The Batman. From my memory, all the past Batman films all look and feel the same when watching the trailers than the movies themselves. So is there a chance the Batman will be hit or miss? Listen, it's always an opportunity or a chance for a movie to be hit or miss. Like they literally have people that are masters at putting together a movie trailer. Like that's their one job, is to be able to put something enticing together to go ahead and get your, just your sensories just overloaded, right? Making you feel some type of way, pulling at your heartstrings or giving you goosebumps sort of thing, right? Like there is an art to putting together a movie trailer. So, how do you know when a movie trailer indicates that the movie will be very good? I don't know if they ever indicate that it'll be very good, just that we hope you'll enjoy it type of thing, right? Like, let's try and get you as hyped as we can. We hope you enjoy what we're doing, but it doesn't necessarily mean just because the trailer is good that the movie's going to be good. I think we've seen that plenty of times. Am I right?
Yeah, I think the problem is that now with how advanced editing has gotten, it's way too easy to make a good trailer with a really bad movie. I noticed this first actually with the trailer for High School Musical 3. That trailer was weirdly more epic than it had any right to be. And that's when I'm like, wow, you can take something as silly as that and make a really epic trailer with it. So yeah, I think that's what it all comes down to is it's just easy to make a good trailer.
And I finally have an answer to the pop culture franchise that I think is very underrated.
All right, let's hear it.
Power Rangers.
I mean,
Power
you're not
Rangers.
wrong. Yeah.
Power Rangers. I feel like there's so much untapped potential in Power Rangers that it is not yet even experienced. I don't even necessarily know if Jonathan Entwistles will fully be able to tap into it. I hope so. But damn, after 28, 29 years, this series has just been coasting. This franchise has just been coasting. There's a lot of potential in Power Rangers still left. I personally do think so. And I think it's a series that unfortunately after MMPR has just been underrated for majority of its time. And I think it's time for it to be thrusted back into mainstream and hopefully done correctly. But I do think the Power Ranger franchise is severely underrated.
I think the easiest way to show people what like Power Rangers, can look like to like, an average Power Rangers fan is give them just give them Shattered Grid and like kind of show them what the real potential of this Power Rangers world is. I think Shattered Grid is like the perfect, like if you know people that were kind of into it as kids but no longer as adults and they don't see how it can work anymore, show them Shattered Grid, because I feel like stories like that can work as a comic book, as a cartoon, as a live action movie. Yeah, I would love to see, these epic stories they've been coming up with in the Power Rangers comic books. Like, I feel like the people who write those comic books, they see the Power Rangers the same way us Ranger fans see it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you for sure. Ibase got a couple of questions here. He says, let's see here. How excited are you for Black Adam? And do you think The Rock plays Okay, I read that. I read the wording of this. He says, "How excited are you for Black Adam, and do you think The Rock plays with himself in every movie he's in?" But I think he meant to say this: the The Rock plays himself. Do you think The Rock plays himself in every movie? I mean, maybe in his trailer he plays with himself, but in regards to the films, yeah, there are times where I would like to see him branch off a little bit. But I think when he is going to go ahead and do Black Adam, I think he'll do his best to really encompass this particular character. But what about you? When you see The Rock in other movies, do you just see him playing himself, or do you think he's got the acting chops to do other things?
I mean, only recent, like the last like 5 or 6, maybe even a little bit more years has he been like kind of playing. I don't know if I really want to say playing himself, but playing this specific character that we see throughout like so many different big movie franchises. But when you look at kind of his earlier career as an actor, he did have a little bit more range. And I think the thing was like some of it was hit and miss, and because of that, he's been like kind of sticking to a comfort zone the last few years. But I think with Black Adam, that's going to be his chance to really break out of that comfort zone and go back to the more like bigger range of acting abilities that he has. Did you ever, God, I can't remember the name of that movie, and it's kind of pissing me off now. Like, did you ever see the movie where he plays a football coach for essentially a prison?
Oh, was that Iron? Wait, Gridiron? Was that what it was?
I think. But
I think that might have
regardless,
been it, but I I
yeah.
I I have not seen it, but I've heard really good things about it though.
Yeah,
That
regardless,
was
he
like
was
early in
great in
his
that
career.
movie. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. He was great in that movie, and nothing like any of the other characters that he currently plays. So he does have that range there. So I would love to see him tap back into that with Black Adam.
Gridiron Gang. Thank you
Okay,
very much,
okay,
Datilla. I was so
cool.
close. I was Gridiron. I was so close. Thank you for that. Abise also asks, do you feel the DC fandom isn't that great and competent when it comes to films, considering how Marvel always has massive hits, with the exception of a few? I wonder if that's the question he means to ask when he says DC fandom isn't that great and competent when it comes to films. I'm wondering if he just means the DC franchise.
uh I think the so like just overall like DC franchise or
Yeah, he just says, do you feel the DC fandom isn't that great and competent when it comes to films, considering that Marvel always has a massive hit on their hands? So that's why I say, I wonder if he
oh
means, do you
okay.
feel the DC franchise isn't that great and competent when it comes to films?
I think the issue is that Marvel did it all first, and they,
Mm,
couldn't. They had this period of time where now it's finally over. Now they kind of like just have decided they're going to do like mostly solo movies that aren't really going to build up to one big thing. But it felt like they had that period of time where they couldn't decide if they wanted to copy Marvel or do their own thing. So they did this very half-assed attempt to be like Marvel. Uh, you know, I think it's finally kind of over. And now they're just like, okay, so we tried doing what Marvel did, it didn't work. Now we're just going to kind of work on solo movies, and if they connect, great. If they don't, oh well. My only issue with this is that when you have so many separate universes, but they all use DC characters and they're all like on the same like network some of the times. I feel like that's where the issue comes when it comes to casual viewers who don't like keep up with what takes place in what. So you're going to have a lot of people really confused as to, for example, why is it that Jim Gordon isn't played by the same actor in Gotham PD as he is in Batgirl, despite them
mhm.
both being HBO Max exclusives. And then even on the CW, you're going to have Gotham Knights, and people are going to be like, why is Spoiler and I forgot there were a couple other characters from Batwoman that are going to be in Gotham Knights. You know, people are going to be extremely confused as to why they're all played by different actors. And then even with Naomi and Superman, you know, you have Superman and
Mhm.
Naomi, but in Naomi's world, Superman is a fictional character. So people who watch those shows back to back are probably going to be incredibly confused on why Superman is fictional in Naomi, but real in Superman.
Yeah, it can be a little bit damn confusing for sure. That's for sure. He also asks, what were some of your favorite moments from this year's Super Bowl halftime show? Did you watch the Super Bowl halftime show, Stuart, at all?
No, I was at work for the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay, okay. So, for those of you who didn't watch the Super Bowl halftime show, it was like LA OGs in regards to just the world of hip hop. They had Dr. Dre out there. I think he produced and actually paid for the entirety of the halftime show, if I'm not mistaken. They also had Mary J. Blige, also, even though she's more East Coast. They had Kendrick Lamar, who's from LA, Snoop Dogg from LA, and of course, the GOAT in Eminem from Detroit there as well, doing the halftime show. Listen, I enjoyed the halftime show. I truly did. I mean, I was rapping along. I was dancing along in my living room while me and the girlfriend was certainly watching. Datilla says I felt that West Coast vibe. I absolutely did. I saw pictures of Snoop Dogg smoking a big fat blunt just before he went on stage and at the Super Bowl, and I'm like, this is perfect. This is what I'm talking about. That's how you get ready to perform, man. And I really enjoyed it. I really did. I will say this: that there are a lot of people talking about the idea of this being the best sort of halftime show that they've ever seen. I'm not gonna go on that limb though. If anything, it was an enjoyable one, but I feel like I've seen better. And I feel like that's saying a lot from me, considering the fact that I'm a huge Eminem stan. I absolutely love hip hop just in general. So for me, I think it was great for the culture. I think the idea of having hip hop stars and rap stars on one of the biggest stages in the world where all the eyes are certainly on you. I thought they did their thing, and I thought they certainly represented hip hop extremely well. And it does make me wonder whether or not this will open the door for other hip hop artists to be up there, especially considering that rap and hip hop is just one of the biggest sort of um, parts of our culture these days, if you will. It just makes sense that hip hop and football kind of go extremely well together. And hopefully, this will open up the gates. So, a show that I really appreciated and enjoyed, but I think far from the best that I've seen when it comes to halftime. I can put Prince up there. I can put Beyonce up there. I could put Bruno Mars up there. I could put Michael Jackson up there. There are definitely a couple other performances that I enjoyed a little bit more, but still a good one. Still a good one.
What year did the
Okay,
Who play? Because I remember really loving that one.
let me see. Super Bowl, was it the Who?
Yep.
Let me see. 2011.
Oh wow, that was that long ago. Shit.
Yeah, I just saw something on YouTube that was pulled up from 2011. So that might be it, Stuart.
Damn.
Um, let's see. All right, I'll move on to another couple. I know he had another couple other questions, but I was trying to get some of his questions from last week and this week. So there's like 6 overall. So I just picked like 3 or 4 to choose from. Um, oh, he sent in some more too late last night. Let me see. I'll get one more. Since we're talking about music, um, Stuart, what are some of your favorite genres of music and artists?
Oh man, I'm just a real big rock and roll fan. I think my favorite rock band, just based on pure nostalgia, definitely has to go to The Offspring. Like I used to listen to all their albums all the freaking time. I love them, and I've recently just gotten super into power metal, specifically Glory Hammer.
Interesting. Okay.
I've been really loving their songs. It's epic, and you know it's like funny because like what a movie I kind of am concepting. I haven't like fully gotten into writing it yet, but I've been like doing like concepts. I've been working on like kind of a Thor type of movie, not related to Marvel Thor at all, completely different. In fact, Thor is actually the villain in this movie.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's called Son of Thor. It's like the working title I have for it. But I have this
Mhm.
like weird idea that I kind of want to make it like a rock opera. And if I ever finish like the script for it, I want Glory Hammer to write the soundtrack for it, because I feel like that power metal would be so freaking perfect for the type of movie that I really want to write for this.
I don't know if I've ever heard the term power metal before in regards to a music genre. It wouldn't surprise me if I have actually heard it before and just didn't know that that's what the name of that genre was called. When you say power hammer, what'd you say? What'd you call
Uh
it? Power what?
oh, power metal.
Power metal? When I
Yeah.
think of power metal, I think of Thor: Love and Thunder with Chris Hemsworth with his 80s rock gear on,
Yeah.
with the sleeveless long hair. I also think of Void Knight in the Power Ranger trailer where Homeboy's got the cut off sleeves and the chain on his thing. That's when I think of power metal. That's the type of mentality that I
um,
get.
I'll put a link for my favorite music video that they have in the
Okay.
comments, so like you and then everyone in the chat can come check it out. It's really freaking epic.
Okay, maybe I'll check it out sometime. Yeah, I mean, I'm a lover of hip hop and rap in general. That's definitely my go-to. I grew up on a ton of R&B and classical soul, so that's usually where I'm. That's usually what I'm listening to throughout my weeks. But I grew up back in high school. I really dove into a lot of alternative rock, even some emo music, a little bit, if you will, like My Chemical Romance. I also dabbled a little bit in the Used. I loved me some Linkin Park back in the day, but I also grew up in like 90s and 2000s rock. So that I always felt like alternative rock. And I feel like that's some of the best music that we had back in the day too.
Ooh,
So
okay. Sorry, real quick, kind of still on topic. My brother, he has a friend that's in a kind of a screamo band, which is like heavy metal and emo music at the same time. And it was really funny because there was one of their songs that I had heard, and I'm like, this sounds so familiar. And then like I see that same song being used later. I believe it was one of those songs that Beavis and Butthead were commenting on when they brought that show back for a fourth season. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I know the guys that wrote that song. I know the guys that wrote that song. And I was about to brag about it until my brother corrected me, like, no, they're a cover band. And I'm like, okay.
yeah, out here out here in Texas, when I first started going to UNT, I lived in Lake Dallas, city Lake Dallas, and there was a garage band called The Mesh that was literally like three houses down from me. Like sometimes I would hear some music playing. I was like, "What is going on? Like, what is this so loud?" And I'd go outside and I would just follow the noise. And I remember just walking in at like somebody's. They had the garage down, but you can hear they were having like a jam session and practicing and stuff. And somebody eventually came out to smoke a cigarette, and they invited me in to go ahead and listen to some of their stuff. Even gave me like one of their CDs that they were kind of one of their demos, if you will. So yeah, I used to love alternative, man. I haven't been into it as much as I used to. Dashboard Confessional, I used to love back in the day. I don't know. My music taste is all over the place. But the only thing I couldn't really get into was country, which is a little bit disappointing considering the fact that I live in Texas. That's just one thing that I like. I'm super picky, if it
Mm.
ever comes to country music. But I listen to pop. I listen to what's on the radios a lot too. Joey Thompson's got a couple questions. What are you looking forward to DC's Black Adam, and do you think this can make The Rock play a real character this time around? According to Joey, we kind of answered the character part a little bit, but what am I looking forward to the most when it comes to Black Adam? Can I be honest with you, Stuart?
Oh,
Justice
can I?
Society of America, the
I was gonna
JSA.
guess that. I was gonna say,
Yeah.
can I guess
Oh,
that?
sorry.
And yep, that's
Sorry.
it's exactly what I knew you were gonna say. Yep, three letters, JSA. That's what I'm
JSA.
looking forward to most. Like the few glimpses that we got of like Doctor Fate and Atom Smasher, like, oh god, that was so cool.
Yeah, it absolutely looks incredible. I can't wait to see The Rock just demolish them as Black Adam. I don't know. I'm curious, just based off of like the little clips that we have seen, it almost feels like they're trying to recruit him or like bring him into the fold, or having a Dr. Fate having a heart-to-heart sort of moment with Black Adam. I'm really curious to see the trajectory of where it's going, but the JSA has looked great so far.
Yeah.
Um, he also says, what do you think of Spider-Man No Way Home now surpassing the domestic box office of Avatar? And do you think it will still continue to grow until it becomes available to, and do you think it will still continue to grow until it becomes available to watch at home? I will say this, I am curious as to when um Marvel's gonna pull the plug on Spider-Man: No Way Home at the box office in the theaters. It's still out there, and it's still gathering money. And I guess as long as it's still raking in money, it'll still continue to be out there. Right now, worldwide, it's at $1.8 billion. Domestically, it's 771 million. Internationally, it has officially crossed the 1 billion mark. So yeah, man, this I don't know how long it's been in theaters for 2 months, 5 days. Well, two months, nine. Well, it says 9 weeks overall in release. But I'm
Mhm.
trying to see if it gives me an idea as to domestic all-time rankings. Um, when do you think they're going to pull the plug on this, Stuart?
I don't know, man. The problem is it's still selling really well. The only reason we don't have it at our theater still is because our theater is like technically kind of small with only 5 auditoriums, and the fact that we got like another Sony movie with Tom Holland. I think that was the only reason we just now got rid of it this week. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's I'm assuming in theaters where they're still having it, I'm assuming it's still selling pretty good because even the last week we had it, this was in one of our smaller auditoriums, but it was still selling out every weekend.
I will say this. Right now, it is at number three. It did pass Avatar. It's at $771 million. The next on the ranking is a little bit ahead, Stuart. It's Avengers Endgame domestically at number two. That's $858 million away. I just can't see it getting to that, Stuart, at that point.
It can if they do what a Endgame did, which is take it out of theaters eventually once the sales slow down, and then re-release it in theaters as an extended cut. But don't do it the way Endgame did, please, because Endgame straight up did false advertising, and that still pisses me off to this day. It wasn't an extended cut; they just had a deleted scene after the movie was over. So make it an actual extended cut of Spider-Man, and I guarantee you'll have like people in seats. Do not repeat history with Endgame. That still pisses me off.
So yeah, they'll definitely keep it in the box office as long as it can. And then I guess maybe once it hits that 90 days, maybe they'll allow it to be available to watch at home. But I don't think it's gonna be in the box office, exit, and then boom the next day. I think it'll be out of the theaters maybe a month or so, 2 months, and then available to watch. But we'll see. It might even go through like a video on demand segment too, where you got to almost pay to watch it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And for those of you who are curious, the other two movies that are ahead of Spider-Man: No Way Home domestically, again, Avengers Endgame at 858 million, and then the number one spot, The Force Awakens, at 936 million dollars. So yeah, what would you like Michael Keaton's entrance to be when he returns for the Flash movie and even Batgirl? Do you have an epic idea for a Michael Keaton reveal as Batman?
I don't know actually. Like like I think epically, like direction wise, it would be cool if that scene in the teaser was our first time seeing him. But
Of the back
story
shot
wise, yeah, but
as he walks?
story
Yeah.
wise, I don't know because I feel like it wouldn't make sense for Barry to just run into the Batcave and then have him slowly turn around. I feel like you would have to have Barry doing research and finding out that this isn't the same Batman. So honestly, this is one that I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see how that turns out. Let's go ahead and show some ladies some love here. We got a couple of ladies in the with some questions here. Mackenzie, what's up, Mackenzie? Appreciate you coming through. I think she also posted some questions over on A Plus More Phenomenal for us. Mackenzie says, "Is it me or?" The Fantastic Four movies have not really been good except the first one back in the early 2000s. And do you think the next one that will be in the MCU might actually be the one? And if it doesn't, do you see it never seeing the light of day by anybody else? Is this the make or break for the Fantastic Four?
No, I think like even if it's not like the big hit, they're still gonna the Fantastic Four are still going to have a huge impact on the MCU, like in some way, shape, or form. As for like the other Fantastic Four movies, yeah, I would agree. I think the
We kind of
first
talked about this like 2 weeks ago, I feel like.
Oh, I'm sure we did. Like, I didn't think the first of the Fox Fantastic Four movies was that bad. The
Yeah.
sequel was pretty dumb, and then of course, I think I've mentioned several times how much I really don't like the Fan Four stick, as I like to call it, because that's the way it's spelled out. I really don't like that movie. Um, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, the first one still is the best out of all the iterations that we've gotten so far. It is one that I can honestly just sit down and watch or have in the background and thoroughly enjoy for all that it is certainly is. So I definitely do find it as the best one. But I will say this, I think this Fantastic Four movie that we get will be the best out of all of them. And the reason why I say that, one, just maybe if the teaser from Doctor Strange has anything to say about it, I think the idea of a potential Mr. Fantastic being in the Illuminati when it comes to the Doctor Strange movie, I think that will only boost anticipation for what they have in store for a future Fantastic Four movie. And I will say this, I think the fact alone that John Watts, who just orchestrated this current Spider-Man trilogy that people absolutely love, and it feels like it really just sort of hit home with everybody, is now also attached to doing the Fantastic Four. So if you were big fans of what he just did with the trilogy of Spider-Man, that alone also gives me great hope that somebody can really capture the family environment and just what this team should certainly be. So I do think that this will hit for sure. What impact did Avatar bring to the film industry, and why it took more than a decade for a sequel? I think the impact that Avatar had on the film industry, while it hasn't really left its fingerprints in pop culture, I think film industry wise, it's gotta had pushed technology, Stuart, right? In regards, especially to like motion capture and the facial recognitions and stuff that they've built for Zoe and all the Sam Worthington for all those other actors and stuff. I felt like this is the first time that it was really pushed to its limits, or at least really utilized at the forefront of technology for this film, and just maybe even pushed it even further. Do you think that's what Avatar brought to the film industry, or anything else in particular?
yeah, definitely. I think like technology was like the big thing, and it came out when 3D was becoming really like popular for movies to use. Of course, like audiences claim to hate it, but they all paid for 3D anyways a lot of times. So I feel like a majority of people who say they hated it didn't actually hate it. But what I liked about Avatar's 3D effects is that the whole movie was being made with the idea that it was going to be in 3D rather than just being a movie not made in 3D and then converted to 3D. So I think with Avatar, just visually it had that perfect amount of new technology, and it knew how to utilize that new technology to tell a story. Now of course I know like a lot of people will say the story was very generic, and it was, but I still think when you look at the overall big picture of what it had going for it, that was like the big impact. And it was such a big impact that it kind of worked against it in a way, because with how fast technology, especially when it comes to computer graphics, continues to grow, it didn't take long for technology to now be able to do exactly what Avatar did, but without having to take 10 years to make the film, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it feels like, when she asked the questions, why it took more than a decade for a sequel. We kind of talked about this like months ago in one of the articles that we highlighted. One, they were truly trying to develop the script for like 4 sequels in general. So that is a lot of time to make sure that you've got your script exactly where you need it to be. And I think also the idea that when it does come to James Cameron and his universal themes, a lot of that also includes pushing technology as well. And with all the new different techniques that they're going to be using for Avatar, I'm pretty sure they probably had to build a lot of their own new tech, or at least experiment with it, get everything ready for what we're potentially going to see. Maybe they will get a little bit more ahead of the curve when it comes to technology than they did even with the first Avatar. Because you're right, the way that technology changes these days, it's like that, man. It's so quick.
Mhm.
Um, and then we also got Nicole Robertson. What's up, Nicole? Appreciate you coming through. Says, hope you're all doing well and having a splendid weekend. I saw your channel after yesterday's video of Power Rangers. Thought I'd join. I did subscribe a few days ago. Well, thank you very much, Nicole. We always appreciate a new familiar face or a new friendly face around here for sure. What are some of your favorite female-led superheroes in any comic book fandom? And do you wish we gotten a series with Catherine McNamara from Arrow as Mia Queen? I was sad that the spinoff Green Arrow and the Canaries was not picked up. Would love to see her return on screen as Mia. Yeah, me too. I was pretty bummed about it, Stuart. I really wanted to see what Kate McNamara was going to go ahead and bring to this role of Mia Smoke even more.
Mhm. Yeah, I wouldn't say I was too bummed that it didn't get picked up. I really hope they give her more to do in the Arrowverse, even if it's not like in her own solo TV show, just because I feel like there's like still that story I would love to see explore. But as a show, the pilot didn't get me as excited for it as I was kind of hoping it would get me, but I
I
thought it
get
was
that.
okay overall, and there could have been an amazing show there. I can't say for sure, honestly. But my favorite female led, I'd say probably the Wonder Woman movie in 2017, because I think that one was just a
Mm.
really freaking amazing, epic film that was surprisingly well written. And when the only complaint I can really give to that movie is that the battle felt way too CG heavy and just kind of felt very forced in there at the end. You got a good film when that's like the only issue you got with it.
I've got two. One, I'll say Black Widow.
Mhm.
I really love what Scarlett Johansson's been able to do with that particular character. She did get her own lead movie, but I mean, in regards to Black Widow, as far as just a character, in regards to her own personal growth, since the first time that we saw her in, was it Iron Man 2 to where we were up until her own particular movie, I thought she was pretty impactful. I'm always a big fan of Black Widow. And I'll even go so far as to say Black Canary also from Arrowverse or just in general from the comic books. Get an opportunity to see Katie Lotz as Sarah Lance really went a long way for me. Even the different iterations to Julia was a Harkavy. Big fan of hers also. So Black Canary's always been a female character. I've always been a big fan of as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is there a live action Mega Man movie or series in the works? My older siblings are big fans of the Capcom video game and are interested how it could turn into live action. Perhaps it is Transformers in a way with similar sound effects, since Mega Man can transform to different weapons and vehicles. To answer your question, Nicole, yes, I think there's a story that we talked about several months ago, or maybe a couple of weeks back, about the idea that there is some early development, at least for a Mega Man, I think movies or a series, but definitely a live action. Because I think, Stuart, didn't we even throw out the ideas of like other films that they can take some references from? I think I might have mentioned like Speed Racer. I think we brought up.
Mhm.
I even brought up maybe checking out Alita Battle Angel as a really great sort of jump off point for how they could possibly create a Mega Man film. But yeah, there has been works. I don't believe anything has been officially greenlit as of yet. Like this is definitely happening, but I do believe that there's at least some conversation and bringing it together. So, do you think it'll see the light of day, Stuart?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's enough of a fan base to where a live action movie, maybe don't give it the biggest budget, but give it like a good modest action movie budget. And I think there's a good enough fan base for that. And then, yeah, I think it's funny because I think that was also when I brought up the other, like the live action Mega Man movie that technically does exist, but it's an extremely low budget. Keep in mind, made with $0 type of movie, so it's not exactly the most aesthetically pleasing movie. But at the same time, there's that appreciation you have to have for the creativity that went into it, like the fact that someone is so passionate about Mega Man that they went out of their way to make a full length feature with Mega Man, knowing that they couldn't even make money on it because, of course, it's a property that they didn't have the licensing to.
Yeah, it's a good point. That's definitely a good point. Let's see here. A couple other questions. We got Marcelino Vasquez. Today's questions are marketing themed. He says, this goes without saying, but obviously the Uncharted movie and the Last of Us TV series are not going to be canon to the main games. But I feel like how they're being marketed by the marketing team, it's almost like they want it to be canon to the games. The production team for the Last of Us TV show even said that the show would expand upon certain aspects the games weren't able to do. But what do you think? I think for me, it's a little bit hard to kind of see them as canon because I guess for me, when I look at The Last of Us, I feel like it's just doing the video game. So I guess it's automatically canon. Like, I don't necessarily know if these movies are doing anything new. Well, you're right. He did mention when it comes to The Last of Us that they are going to be expanding upon certain aspects. The Uncharted movie, I'm kind of curious. Is this supposed to be an adventure between these two characters before we even see them in the first Uncharted video game? Because it's younger versions of
No.
them, so I wasn't quite sure if this is meant to be canon or not. I was never under the impression that it was, though.
No, it takes elements from different games and puts them into the movie. I haven't actually watched it all the way through, but I watched, but like basically at my theater, since I'm constantly kind of walking in and out of movie theaters to deliver food because we're kind of like a restaurant theater. Basically, yeah, the scenes that I've walked in on definitely kind of confirm that it definitely doesn't take place within the continuity of the video game, and I think it's going to be the same way with The Last of Us. Which I'll say this. I think if Sony was smarter, they should have stuck to the continuity of the games that these properties come from. Because I think what they're afraid of is the idea of isolating the audiences that haven't seen or played the video games. But we've now seen with the Mandalorian and Book of Boba that as long as you get good enough writers, writers who understand that not everyone knows the universe as well as you do, you can still make an audience friendly property or an audience friendly movie in continuity of existing property without making anyone feel excluded, like feeling like they're missing out on something. And I feel like that's something that currently only really Disney understands, and I hope in the future other studios start to see that as well.
He also asks, when it comes to Jonathan Kent being bisexual in the comics, I don't have a problem with that. But what I do have a problem is with DC's marketing behind it. DC purposefully marketed it as Clark Kent Superman coming out as bisexual because they want Superman to be in the mainstream, thinking it would boost sales in comics. DC believes any kind of news is good or bad. They don't care if people make hate videos. They want Superman to be in the mainstream news. And even if you don't read comics, you would be aware of this. Would DC still receive hate if instead they marketed as Superman's son or the new Superman coming out as bisexual? Absolutely, but it wouldn't be as bad as it is now.
I disagree with that comment. I don't think they ever wanted us to think it was Clark Kent Superman who was coming out as bisexual. I think they said, I remember the article saying the new Superman has come out as bisexual. I don't think they ever specified it being Clark Kent.
Yeah, from what I remember from the marketing, I do remember them mentioning the idea of new Superman. I think I have seen plenty of videos and plenty of pushback against it that just simply refer to it as Superman.
Mhm.
I think a lot of the pushback that refers to it as Superman does like to leave out that one little tidbit in the sense that it is the new Superman or at least his son. So I think a lot of the pushback that you're seeing are other people trying to form a narrative around the new Superman, whereas I don't necessarily think DC initially pushed it as marketing for that. You know what I mean? I think the marketing that they pushed for it was for comic book people that pay attention to comic books. If you've been watching or reading the comic books, you know that the Jonathan Kent is officially sort of the new Superman. But for those that don't necessarily read comics, I can see it being a very easy trigger for people that want a story to run with and really turn it into a negative narrative. So I don't think that I would disagree too, Stuart. I don't necessarily know. Again, the marketing that I had previously seen always showcased and always emphasized the fact that it was a new Superman or at least the son of Superman. If people actually sat down and read the story instead of just headlines, right? Like there's a lot that certainly goes into the marketing of it. So I don't think it's DC that failed when it comes to their marketing. I think if anything, it's other people that wind up taking that story and twisting it into something negative in regards to it. I heard arguments I heard are
Oh,
from.
sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, while I do agree, I really like Comic Historian and everything. They have made mistakes every now and then, and I think the big thing is that after the news came out about him being bisexual, Fox News was really the one that was really pushing it, and because they're literally the biggest news network in the world, when they're the ones saying Superman is now bisexual and making it seem like they're talking about Clark Kent Superman, that's how a lot of people are going to take it, and I think that's what where Comic Historian got that from. I do really like their channel, but like us, because they're all humans, they make mistakes every now and then, and I think this might have been one of them.
And I would also say nothing wrong with listening to other people's arguments, but also if you are going based off of just their arguments, I think there's a much bigger picture to it than certainly that. If anything, I would probably take some time, maybe Google search the idea of how the marketing of Superman or Jonathan Kent as Superman coming out as bisexual really sort of unfolded, and sort of make a bigger picture for yourself in that sense. Because I don't think anything was wrong with the DC marketing, more or less other people picking up on it and twisting the story a little bit. But that could just be me. You also say a lot of people say that the Batman is going to succeed and make the SJWs cry because it won't have woke messages. They're already using Spider-Man No Way Home breaking $1 billion at the box office because it doesn't contain woke messages and instead just told a story. What do you think? I mean, look, look, I will say this. There's always a level of wokeness in everything, though, right? I mean, Zoe Kravitz being multiracial, if I'm not mistaken, as Catwoman, right? Like the original Catwoman, wasn't she like white as Michelle Pfeiffer? I mean, but
Yeah.
then again, so I'm just saying, like, we have seen different like cultured Catwoman before, but some people could say, oh, the Holly Berry Catwoman was woke. Why? Because there's diversity in it, right? Like, it's just I'm pretty sure there are going to be things, whether any movie that you watch, that some people can easily say, oh, that's a woke moment. Like, anytime you include diversity and inclusivity, somebody's always going to go ahead and wave the banner, right? For wokeness, if you will. I think both arguments are shit, honestly. I don't think anything to do with Spider-Man's No Way Home had to do with its success of it being woke or not. I think it all had to do with storytelling, right? Like, I could say Spider-Man No Way Home was so woke because, man, I can't believe they made you know Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man so goddamn sensitive. They're such pussies. They're crying all the time in the movie. They're so woke all of a sudden, right? Like, people can argue that shit all day long if they want. Like, people can nitpick and stuff. So please, everybody, do yourselves a favor. Just get that term woke out of your vocabulary, okay? Because woke really just means people that are upset of the idea of inclusion and diversity. There's nothing woke about representing the culture that you certainly live in. And it's movies, people. It's movies. You know what I'm saying? It's about creativity and creating something new, and having something that you can just dive into and certainly enjoy. I'm sure that there are things in the Batman that, like I said, I can easily pick out that people can, if they want to nitpick, can find woke aspects of it. But that it's got nothing to do with it, man. It's got nothing to do with it. Like, I don't think SJWs are gonna bitch because of the fact that, and if people are bitching because Spider-Man No Way Home did well or the Batman did well, get a life, guys. Get a life, please. I'm over this shit.
I'm gonna say this, man. I've heard people who dislike diversity, they bitch about diversity more than people who want diversity when it comes to things that aren't diverse. All right. No one is complaining that we didn't have Miles Morales in Spider, or maybe there are some people kind of complaining about it. Like, for me, I was kind of bummed we didn't get Miles Morales in Spider-Man No Way Home, but I'm not going to complain about it online. Most people don't complain about it online. But if they included Miles Morales in it, I can guarantee you there would be a ton of people freaking complaining about it. Like, and the ironic thing about it is that you got so many people saying woke culture, people are whining so much about the lack of diversity, and it's like, you're whining way more about diversity than people are whining about the lack of diversity. So shut the fuck up, God. Like,
It
holy
drives me
shit, the
so crazy.
hypocrisy and the fact that they don't fucking see their own hypocrisy is just fucking mind blowing to me. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, bro.
Sorry, I've
Mind
had this
blowing.
rant for so long, and it's been just.
In the words of Miss Lauren Hills, and one of the verses she said, "The stupidity leaves me breathless," and it truly does with this society of the day, man. Like I swear to God, like it's just, I'm over it, bro. I'm over it. I just want to enjoy life and not have to worry about, is that woke? Is that not woke? Like I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Um,
I think also last thing I'll say about it is that when you see a cast that's very diverse, I think a majority of the time, I don't think they're going, okay, we need a black person to play this character. We need a white person to play this character so we can cover every single ethnicity. I think they're just going by talent. And when you do that, diversity just comes naturally.
because that's the world we live in.
Yeah. Because guess
Not
what?
every
White
great
people
actor.
aren't the only
Yeah.
talented people out there.
Exactly, bro.
Yeah.
Exactly. Good old Dattila coming through with the jokes. According to Ron Burgundy, diversity is an old wooden ship used in the Civil War. Absolutely. That's a great callback. Great
Oh.
callback. J.K. Lawrence, what are some of your most what are you most looking forward to the upcoming Disney Plus series Ironheart? And do you think it can bring new fans and fans of the original Iron Man trilogy and Avenger films? Would you like if maybe there are Easter eggs or nods from the films? And what was the last Avengers you'd like to see make an appearance someday? Um, I'm actually looking forward to Ironheart. Like it's a big mystery to me, just because the fact that I really don't know what we're going to be getting. I gotta think that there's some Tony Stark lore in there. I'm hoping there's a Don Cheadle sort of connection in there also. Maybe even some Black Panther connection in there too. I think would be pretty cool. But yeah, I don't know. I would hope maybe Armor Wars maybe leads into Ironheart, or maybe there's some connective tissues between the two. I don't really know what to expect, but I just know I want to see a badass Iron Man suit. I really want to see what this Ironheart suit is honestly going to look like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely look forward to seeing how they're able to pull off the intense CG that goes into making an Iron Man suit for a TV show. Because, like, I mean, I know these have movie budgets, but you still have that kind of time limit when it comes to doing the VFX, and then you have to do a lot more of them throughout the episodes. So I'm really kind of curious how they're gonna. I'm really excited and curious on how that's all going to be pulled off. And yeah, I would love to see like. I would love to see, like, with her being as young as she is, like in this Marvel Cinematic Universe. I hope we get like kind of a perspective on what it's like for children to grow up in a world of superheroes, because I feel like that's something they kind of tackled a little bit of with Spider-Man, and a little bit with Kate, or actually I think they did a lot more of it with Kate Bishop and Hawkeye. But yeah, I'd love to see them continue to do that. One thought I actually had when watching Eternals, when you had the one kid thinking that the main Eternal was Superman, is I'm kind of like wondering, if you're like growing up in this world of superheroes, and there's probably fictional comic books based on these real life superheroes, would you have to do research to find out which superheroes are real or not?
Oh, that's a good one.
Like, I'd love to see that get explored.
Yeah, I would love to see that get explored. That would be actually pretty cool too. Let's see here. Real quick, Marcelino also says, he says, well, these people say that true diversity is diversity of thought, not diversity of color. People with different opinions coming together. I mean, well, isn't that the case? I mean, people with different opinions coming together, but that also includes those different opinions are going to belong to people of color, right?
Yeah.
Or diversity of color. So it kind of comes full circle at the end of the day. So yeah. Let's see here. Chris Crossman. Chris Crossman. I love that name, Chris Crossman. Do you wear your clothes and everything backwards? Is what I would like to ask, Chris. What are your thoughts on Amy Jo Johnson, who played the legendary Kimberly, putting on a post on social media about the upcoming Power Rangers? What did you see that, Stuart? And if so, what did you think?
Yeah. I actually saw that, and then I also listened to the beginning of More Phenomenal, and I
Oh,
kind
nice.
of agree with almost everything that you pretty much said with it. I do think that the purpose behind the tweet was because she got some news from David Yost personally that made her kind of feel really sad for him, especially like kind of knowing the new direction that they're going with it, how it just kind of feels like they're going to just, start over, kind of ignore the overall continuity of what came before. So yeah, I do kind of, I think honestly, just I fully agree with almost everything you pretty much said in your review. So if people want to know my thoughts, just watch More Phenomenal, and Adam kind of speaks for me as well in that.
Oh, I appreciate his story. Yeah, I even had there's a Power Ranger YouTuber, Deoxy360.
Yeah.
I think he watched the show yesterday and he posted a video today, and he even gave us a shout out for our video and requested people to go ahead and check out our video on it, and even put a link in his description of his video too. So he definitely came across. Datilla says, I got that joke. Thank you for laughing, Datilla, in regards to the crisscross joke. I have dad jokes all the time that I think sometimes goes over people's heads. Why do some movies that are so successful are liked by critics but not reviewers? Hold on. Why do some movies that are so successful are liked by critics but not reviewers? And do you feel that some people take either sides when it comes to seeing a film? This could apply to TV and shows. Well, I mean, the one thing that we say around here is that all movies and television are subjective. You
Mhm.
know, you look at them as pieces of artwork, right? If you go to an art museum and you stand in front of it, there chances are a lot of people will have different perspectives and opinions on it, and that's the point of art, is to have us all feel something vastly different or have an impact on us, certainly, personally or differently. So it's the idea of a movie that are successful or that are liked by critics but not by reviewers. I mean, sometimes it just depends on how those movies hit. Maybe the critics are looking for other things when they experience movies, and the reviewers and just the casual moviegoers look for other things out of those particular movies. So it doesn't necessarily make a movie good or bad, which is why I always tell people, if there's a movie you want to see, go see it. Fuck what
Mhm.
critics or reviewers say. You be the one to certainly make the judge as to how you personally enjoy it, or not. I think the idea, nothing wrong with listening to other people's opinions, but I always say, don't just take their word for it. You find out for yourself also, and then you get the opportunity to have the debate whether or not you agree with the reviewers or critics or not.
I think being on this channel, one of the things that it's really helped with me personally is I think I've gotten a lot better of correcting myself whenever I'm talking about a property that I like or dislike, at not being objective about it. The problem with a lot of like kind of high end, like high end is probably a weird term to use. I'm not going to use that again. The problem with like critics that like consider themselves like, the real professional critics, is they come off as way too objective a lot of times with their opinions, and it really bothers me because they're looking at it way too one-sided. So for me, whenever I'm giving a review, I always try to let people know that, this is my thoughts, this is how I see it. When someone else brings in a new point of view, I try to be really open to that new point of view. Even if I don't agree with it, I like to try to go, okay, I can kind of see that's why you got what you got out of it. That's not what I got out of it, but I'm glad someone else did. And I think, again, just being on a channel that's literally called opinions, A plus opinions, I think that's what really helps. That's what really helped me be like a lot more open to other people's thoughts on everything.
Well, I'm glad we have an impact on you, Stuart, and hopefully it's an impact that we have on other people too in regards to how they view things. Last couple of questions. We got two batches of emails left. Here we go. Tony Robles, what's up, Tony? Appreciate you coming through. Why do you think Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker isn't well received by fans? And do you think the characters of Rey is underappreciated, that fans will always get angry at her?
I can go on a million different things what I personally didn't like about Rise of Skywalker. You know, the course correction part of it was a really bad idea for them. You don't spend an entire movie apologizing for a previous movie. That's
For the
dumb. Just
previous
move
movie.
on. You know, the other thing too was just that why, you know, they have like a whole year time jump, but it really doesn't feel like there's a time jump other than, you know, that opening crawl revealing the Emperor. Like Rey feels like she's barely changed since the last movie. John
Mm,
Boyega, I think like the way they like completely
went
rewrote his
backwards.
character, you know, they had a great arc going for him for the first two movies. And then this one, it's like they completely erase it and they go, oh, he turned good because the Force made him turn good. He's not a good person. The Force made him a good person. That's like the biggest insult you could possibly do to a character. Like I can't, and I'm glad John Boyega himself even points this out to Disney, like saying, you know, that Disney was just like, hey, fuck it with my character.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they definitely did him dirty for sure. You know, look, I don't want to also. I know while some of it certainly wasn't well received, I do know that there is certainly a segment of fans that certainly did enjoy it, and if they enjoyed the Rise of Skywalker, more power to them. For me, it was just it was rough, man. I think the first point that you made for me, Stuart, the idea of spending so much time almost trying to redo what you did before to make your corrections and then try and focus on your story, it just threw it all over the place. There's just elements that aren't really focused on. A lot of it feels rushed, like we got to fit all this in before we round it up. And it just feels like any plan that they had was just immediately thrown out the window and they just tried to just wing it as best as they could. It just really felt like I think the disappointment too was because it felt so disconnected. You know, I really do feel like a really great writer should have been able to take what came before and created a great finale towards it. I look at Colin Trevorrow's original script, and he took elements from the previous movies that were just before his, that Ryan Johnson and J.J. Abrams had in store, and I thought he put a really great finale on it. But the pushback towards The Last Jedi really made Disney piss in their pants, letting the loud minority, if you will, of of Star Wars fans that just were not happy with it, and they really shot themselves in the foot by trying to do some sort of course correction with very little time to try and put this all together. So I think the main problem with the Rise of Skywalker is just a lack of a plan. And I think, if anything, that's the movie where it really showcased itself to people out there. Like, they really don't know what the fuck they're doing, do they? And I think people realize that, unfortunately. But again, some people really enjoyed it. Again, me and Stuart, big fans of Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, but sometimes it really depends on the landing and how you stick it.
Mm-hmm.
And they just really didn't do it for me. As far as Rey goes, I do think that she is underappreciated. Like, I don't think Rey. I think, unfortunately, a lot of these characters just got screwed by Disney in the sense of how they were utilized. I think there were some really great ideas for these characters to launch themselves into great positions by the end of this trilogy. And unfortunately, it was just a little bit lackluster in that regards. So I do think it undermined Rey's growth as a character. But I really appreciate her, and there's more to her that I would like to see fleshed out and told with somebody else's vision at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely
But
fully agree with that. And I do
um,
look forward to seeing her continue to grow in the future if we get that new trilogy that we mentioned earlier.
yeah, I definitely hope that rumor turns out to be true. Two part. What are you most looking forward to in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series? And could it help redeem that installment of the prequels? Would you ever like Obi-Wan to ever cross over with original characters like Luke, Leia? Um, Honestly, what I'm looking forward to the most out of Obi-Wan Kenobi, two things: the interactions with Anakin and whether or not we're going to get one or multiple battles, and two, just getting off of the damn planet of Tatooine. Please. I'm so tired of sand at this point in time. Like, Anakin Skywalker, I feel you. It's rough, it's coarse, it gets it everywhere. And it's just, I'm tired of seeing it. I'm tired of seeing it. I know that this series is gonna open up with sand in my face, but I do hope that at some point in time we get off planet and we start exploring some more things. Because I'm over Tatooine. Tatooine is now all of a sudden becoming like the place where everything happens or everything starts. It's really the focal point of this entire universe somehow. But yeah, Anakin Skywalker and get me off this damn planet are the two things I'm looking forward to. What about you, Stuart?
I look forward to just seeing him in action again. I look forward to seeing him in that perfect in between stage of being Obi-Wan and Ben Kenobi.
That
I can't
hermit
wait to
sort
see.
of growing into that
Yeah,
hermit.
and I'm also kind of curious if we're gonna get like a full kind of explanation as to why it is that seemingly oh yeah, Owen, that's his name. Sorry, I forgot his
Oh
name
yeah,
for a
Owen.
moment. Because Owen seems really intent in episode 4 of making sure that Luke stays away from Ben Kenobi. So I'm wondering if we're going to see something in the series that triggers it, like makes him realize, okay, you stay the hell away from Luke. We appreciate you giving him to us, and we appreciate you protecting us, but you're nothing but a danger to us. So piss off.
Yeah, I also, because the other question asks if we'll ever see Obi-Wan interact with others like Luke and Leia. Going back to that Owen Lars confrontation, I do wonder if we'll see Obi-Wan meeting a younger Luke at least, or at least seeing if they've casted a young Luke. Who knows? Maybe they've casted a young Leia, and we get another moment of Obi-Wan and Bail or Organa once again, or something like that to kind of check on them. But so I don't know. Maybe we do get ourselves a casting of young Luke and Leia in this. I hope so.
Oh my gosh, it'd be so freaking cool, but probably won't happen because Disney seems more interested in recreating characters with CG now. I think it'd be kind of cool if we got the guy that from Dune. I always forget that actor's name, even though it's an easy name to remember. But the main guy from Dune, if we got him as a young Luke Skywalker, because if you were to bleach his hair, and the fact that he still
Timothy
looks,
Chalamet.
yeah, Timothy
Oh,
Chalamet, yeah. If we got him as Luke Skywalker, that would be pretty cool. Just bleach his hair and he's good to go. And the dude still looks like he's 12 years old, so he can play him at any age.
he probably could. Yeah, he's Timothy's a pretty tiny guy too. Marcelino says maybe we can see how Obi-Wan earned the title of Jedi Master, or why he looks older in the OG trilogy. The sand will do that to you. I'm sure
Mhm.
sand will definitely dry out your skin pretty quick. So maybe that's why he looks so old in the original trilogy. But this does bring up something I would love to see. I don't know if Liam Neeson's planning on coming back for Obi-Wan, but I would love to see some Force Ghost moments
Mhm.
between those two. Maybe it's Qui-Gon that actually gives him that mastership, maybe in the process of communicating him and getting the Force Ghost. I would love to see that. Doomsday, last couple of questions here. Prior to Moon Knight's initial announcement, did you have any idea who the character even was? I had seen him plenty of times in the comic books. I don't think I've ever purchased an actual Moon Knight comic book to sit down and read. So I have very little knowledge of the Moon Knight character, despite having seen him in comics for years. So yeah, I don't really know too much about the character outside of the fact that there are some split personalities and some Egyptian stuff. But that's about it for me. What about you, Stuart?
Yeah, I mean, I've known about him for a long time, but I've never actually read a Moon Knight comic book. So but it's funny because I'll see like different panels out of context and it feels like I'm reading a completely different character each time. So now that I know about the multiple personality aspect of it, I'm like, okay, this makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, Moon Knight is definitely a character worth learning about. If anything, we might have Indy do a character breakdown for you guys if you want to learn a little bit more about Moon Knight. Going back to that last comment though, AJ More Phenomenal, he says, "When was Liam Neeson in Star Wars?" Check out The Phantom Menace, Episode 1. He plays Obi-Wan's master, Qui-Gon Jinn, and I think he even came back and did some voice work for Qui-Gon in the animated series, didn't he?
Yeah, he was in season 6, I believe, of the Clone Wars.
Of Clone Wars. So yeah, there you go. Doomsday. Last question from him, and the last question for us. We had 8 live action Spider-Man solo movies over the past 20 years, but I've been wanting to know, what is your top 5 favorite Spider-Man solo movies?
Man, the more I watch it, the more I've kind of definitely changed my mind about a few of them. So I'm actually kind of glad he asked me this. I think if we're just counting the live action ones, I think No Way Home has become my new favorite live action one, despite the first third
Oh,
of
it
that
just says
movie.
top 5 favorite Spider-Man solo movies. So it doesn't necessarily have to
Oh,
be live action. It just says
oh,
top
okay.
5 favorite Spider-Man solo movies.
Oh, in that case,
However you want.
Into the Spider Verse is still my number one. Probably with No Way Home being like a a good second. Third probably being Spider Man 2. Fourth being Spider Man Homecoming probably, and then fifth being Spider Man 1.
Oh damn, I didn't even think about those movies. Fuck. I'm gonna go. Number 1 will be No Way Home for me. Number 2 will be Spider-Man 2. Number 3 will be Into the Spider-Verse. Number 4 will probably be Homecoming. Number 5 will probably be, God damn. I'm gonna have to watch these 2 movies over again, but for now, I'll put The Amazing Spider-Man up there.
Mhm.
I really want to go back and rewatch the first Spider-Man movie again to see which one I like better at this point. The first Sam Raimi Spider-Man or the first Amazing Spider-Man movie. Those for my 5th spot. That's the one I want to rewatch again. But I'm pretty confident about the first 4. All right. I think that's all the questions, man. All the questions that we had today. So that's a catch up of last week's questions and this week's questions. So thank you very much, guys, for all your patience and your participation. As always, man, we always love hearing your guys' thoughts and answering your guys' questions. So thank you very much for that. And Stuart, I think if anything, it's time to go ahead and wrap up for the day. So thank you very much, guys. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their weekend. We definitely will be back next Sunday for you guys at noon Central Time, and it should be the entire gang, me, Stuart, and Indy, who I believe is going to be able to. I think he changed his work schedule around. Should be joining us going forward for a certain period of time at least. So we'll let you know if anything changes. But we should have the full nerd roundtable for you guys next week. So definitely check us out. So again, Sunday at noon, we'll be back. But Stuart, if people want to go ahead and follow you on social media, sir, where can they find you?
You guys can find me at TurboStew01 over on Twitter. And then I don't know if it's going to be next Tuesday or the Tuesday after, but I do have a series pilot that I'm doing on my YouTube channel, which is just called Turbo Studios. And the name of it, which you can kind of guess what it's going to be about, is called Toke and Toku. It's where I get really stoned and talk about tokusatsu. For this first episode, I talk about my history of what got me into tokusatsu, and I'm hoping.
Stuart, can we just put that as a segment on A Plus More Phenomenal?
You know what? Sure, I would love to, man. But yeah,
Can we
my
just give you
plan
some?
is yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go with your plans. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, my plan is to basically just kind of rant on for like 30 minutes to an hour about a specific tokusatsu related topic while I'm really stoned. Hopefully bring on some guests as well, like whether or not they be tokusatsu fans or people who have never heard about tokusatsu. I kind of want to like show them an episode of a tokusatsu without any context at all, and then have a conversation with them about it, or talk to people who like it just as much as we do. So
Will the other people be required to get high also and take a toke?
no, not at all. It's
Okay.
optional
Okay.
though. They are welcome
Okay.
to, but it is not a requirement at all.
Only you. Only
Yeah,
you.
yeah. I
Okay.
would never do
Okay.
that to people. That's mean. Yeah. So I finished recording the first episode. I'm going to edit it down because there were a couple of moments since it's just by myself where I'm just like kind of spaced out and I'm kind of like wondering where I should take it next. Yeah, it's an idea I have. I'm doing the pilot, and I'll upload the pilot on my channel just so you get an idea of what it is. And if you like it,
Okay.
I'll
Okay.
try to move it to A plus more of novel. Also, if you have
Okay.
notes for
Deal.
it of how you would like me to change it, let me know as well.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm down with that. I look forward to seeing the first one because More Phenomenal can always use some content, and people are always asking to see more of you, especially after Kamen Rider Saber. So if you do have more Tokusatsu content, man, you got a home for it already at A Plus More Phenomenal. Go ahead and drop it if you want to. But that sounds hilarious to me. Toke with Toku.
Toke and Toku. And in fact, I'm thinking of
Toke
doing it
and
Tuesday so
Toku.
I can call it Toke and Toku Tuesdays.
Oh my god, my head hurts already. Just trying. It's like a tongue twister already.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. But yeah, let me know when you upload it, and I'll definitely spread the word so we can check it out for sure. But yeah, guys, go ahead and support Stuart and follow him on social media. And guys, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so right here up at the top at A Plus Opinions. Very active over on our main Facebook page, which is where we post all of our articles throughout the week, where we keep you guys posted in regards to the pop culture news. And that's where we pull our 6 topics from. So if you want to follow up and be kept up to date throughout the entirety of the week, follow us over on Facebook. Very active over on Twitter, as well as our Instagram page. Also, guys, if you want to go ahead and continue to follow us and join us outside of our YouTube community, we do have ourselves a Discord forum that you guys can certainly go ahead and join. There is a link in the description box below. So if you want to connect with us, talk other things outside of Marvel and DC, we got a plethora of other topics over on our Discord that you can certainly join. We would love to continue to build our family and our community. So thank you very much and follow us there as well. But other than that, Stuart, I think that's going to go ahead and do it for us here today, but we will be back next weekend. So in the meantime, guys, as always, do us a big favor. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.